morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. Sorry about last week. It happens, ladies and gentlemen. What are you going to do? My name is K Asante, TKO Asante on all the places that we communicate. And welcome to episode 107, the Checkmate episode. And of course, I am joined by my brother, by the man who's oddly camless these days, Mr. Everborn Saga. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
What's happening? I just want to say to the audience, last week was my fault. Well, I mean, it wasn't my fault. It was work. That we had to do we had to cut over to some new servers in production because we're still doing some on-prem stuff on top of AWS. And I just had to be on the call to make sure everything went well, and everything did not go well. And you know how those things go. So I was on that call till about 4:00 on a Saturday.
Hey, you know what? I'm actually about to be on a call similar to your call after this show. So because of that, I'm going to try and keep this show a little concise this week.
Okay.
So I have a little mini project I got to finish before Monday. So, and on that point, Mr. Everborn Saga, let's do some housekeeping notes real quick. So, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for being here. I see more and more filing in all the great names that I've come to know and expect on this channel. Next week may be a very interesting show for us. One or the other. Either the next week's show will be canceled, or it'll be a very interesting show because I will be traveling to New England next week, actually Monday, to go visit family. It's been a while. And I figure, hey, why not? I'll be traveling to New England. And those who know the American hemispheres and all of that, you'll know that if I'm in New England, I'm close to New York. So either next week's show will be canceled due to scheduling reasons, or there may be some opportunities that we will use for this show that have not been made available to us until next week. So stay tuned on that front. Might be an interesting show for both the show reasons and of course the news god reasons, as you can imagine, you know. So thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, and I should also, and because some folks in the chat have already started mentioning it, I should also say salute to Risk It for the Biscuit. Thank you guys so much for having me out there. The man had me on the Xbox Infinite podcast yesterday. You know, Risk It for the Biscuit, Jedi Knight Peter, the rest of the crew.
How did that go, by the way? I didn't get to.
Oh, okay. Well, if you haven't checked it out, ladies and gentlemen, you should definitely check it out. They had the saltiest gamer on there. Yes, the saltiest gamer. Needless to say, wasn't as salty as you expected it to be.
Oh, okay.
I mean, those.
Are you saying that when you come around, people get in line? Is that what you're?
No.
Is that what you're trying to communicate here?
No, what I'm trying to communicate is I spoke with Porter Rock, and he and I had a great conversation. And by and large, it wasn't as ridiculous as all that. And I spoke with Saltiest Gamer, and by and large, it wasn't as ridiculous as all that. So take with that what you will, right? I hear their reputations loom large, but whenever we speak, it has not been that case. So shout out to him. A very respectful, very cool conversation. We didn't agree on everything, but I actually agreed with some of his points. So there you go.
All right. So put some respect on your name is what you saying.
Hey man, I'm not saying that, but if you gonna say that, I ain't gonna deny it.
That's what I said. I'm not gonna say it. I just said it. But okay.
So it is what it is. But you know what? Before we even get started,
no. But I do want to say I've never had any conversations with Salty, but Porter Rock is a very interesting guy to talk to.
He's a cool dude, yeah.
Very smart guy, and you better know your stuff before you go and have a conversation.
Indeed, yes, absolutely, yes. So seriously, I mean, I take their online personas as just that, personas, because when you speak with them, they seem to be really cool dudes. I don't necessarily agree with everything they have to say, but I don't disagree with everything they have to say either.
Nor do you need to. I do want to say something, right? That I think gets a little bit lost on some people in the community, right? I'm not gonna soapbox, but I just want I hope people understand
on his virtual soapbox. The floor is yours.
So. That's what a podcast is, right? But like it's okay if a stranger on the internet is making fun of a billion or $1 trillion company. We should still be able to like make those jokes about corporations that for the most part don't know we exist. I mean, some of us, they do know some of us exist, but the point is they don't corporations don't have feelings. So if somebody says, PlayStation is trash or Xbox got no games or whatever, who cares? We can still go and have a beer afterwards. We can still, what do you call it? Because that's what it's about. Remember when you were in the schoolyard, Super Nintendo is the best, Genesis is the best. You argue with your friends and then you go back to it. None of this stuff is to be taken seriously, right?
Yeah.
When people take it to personal levels, that's where it gets crazy. But I've never felt personally offended by somebody, and this is me as an Xbox fan. I've never felt personally offended by someone not liking Xbox, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
nor should you. And if someone jokes about it, who cares, right?
That's
It's just, let's not make those things personal. So I'm only saying this to say I got a lot of respect for Porter Rock, like as a human being. We don't like, he makes fun of Xbox, but so what, right? But I've never met Salty, so we should go into this saying that we came up playing the dozens. If you're 40 years old, you know how to take a joke. You should.
That's right.
You shouldn't take this stuff that seriously. Let people have fun and joke at billion-dollar corporation expenses. It's not. They're not joking about.
They are a billion. Excuse me. There are billion and sometimes $1 trillion companies. They don't need your help defending them. You know what I'm saying? They'll be all right. I think
it's not about like the defending, because that's part of the jokes. Sure. I'm just saying, don't take it as an affront to your personality and
don't make it part of your profile. That's right. Don't make it part of your humanity profile. Understood. You know what I'm going to do though? First, before we get started, I will right a wrong from last week, and I hope the man is in the chat. And if he's not, salute to him. He always supporting. And oh, by the way, we will have him on our show, I think in October. I'm gonna work with him in the background to make sure we get him on the show. He's been on the show before. Great support of the show. Gerald Mack left this super chat last week, and unfortunately we weren't able to have a show. But Gerald, here's to you for the $5 super chat. He says, shout out to the Gaming Circle podcast and its hosts. Salute, gentlemen. Only pot I'm more addicted to than Starfield. Hashtag graybeards. Hashtag we them boys. Well, all right, sir. He's only addicted to pot more than he's addicted to Starfield. Now, is that are you having are you equally addicted to Starfield in that way? We're gonna get into the games we've been playing, but let me ask you there from the top.
The game I've been playing.
Well, okay, there
Starfield.
you go. So there we have it. So I guess
I just cracked 3 days playtime, so 3 days and some hours.
Yeah, I think I still have more playtime than you, but you have higher achievements than I do. So because you don't F around. I just like look around.
You like
the
to
stars.
meander. Yeah, I
like looking at the stars.
but I'll tell you, usually when I play RPGs, this is my way with RPGs. I'm like, I don't have time. I'm not people's therapist. I'm not there to solve people's problems, right? I got bigger things to do. I'm trying to save the world. So unless you have a quest that's going to get me an epic weapon that I can use to save the world, I don't care about
saving the world. You're not busy ready to get her coffee because she's working on
right. Right.
And that is an actual quest in the game.
Right.
I don't know if you ever met her, but there's a cool chick in the game, her and her boyfriend, and they're working hard to get money to go off planet. And she's just working hard in the middle of the night, and you got to go get her coffee. Like she's like a janitor.
I think if I came to that, I might have shot her. Like, why would you ask me some dumb crap? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to do?
But here's the thing: she won't ask you for the coffee, right? She'll just be like, you'll strike up a conversation with her, and she'll just be telling you how she has these dreams and blah 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 blah. And then the mission comes into your inventory, into your mission screen. Get her a coffee.
I think they need to have a dialogue option for me to say that's crazy. And on the third, no. On the third, that's crazy. You better wrap it up. Whatever you trying to tell me.
Wrap it up, B. Right.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Wow. Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the O's just get longer.
Right.
Mr. Joanna Dark with a $5 super chat. He's here and he says, shout out to the frauds who complained about 30 FPS on console, but hyped to pay $1,000 to play games at 30 FPS on a phone.
Ooh.
Also, Sonic Funeral, October 20th. Bam! Ooh, he came guns a-blazing. Oh, my Lord.
Okay.
I think he's shooting at you, sir.
Of course he is.
I think he's shooting at you. I think bang, bang, bang. What's going on?
I
What is your answer,
I
sir?
definitely did just buy that
Yes, you
$1,000
did.
phone, and I'm definitely
Two of
rooting
them.
for Sonic on the 17th. So I don't know. I kind of feel attacked.
He came guns a-blazing for you, good sir. And he took
Although
good
I
aim.
never complained about the 30 FPS. That's you PC guys. I don't really study frame rate like that.
He only complains about the skin and the textures.
Yes. No,
That's
but
his complaint.
the textures on
Uh-huh.
Starfield on the Xbox are atrocious. Like if you've played it on the PC, you can see how much like better the game looked, and usually it's a lot closer. Like obviously the performance and the frame rate will be better on the PC, but like there's something going on with the textures where they down res them, I think, too much.
Yeah.
So you don't get to see like the pores in the skin, and you do get to see that on the PC
Especially
version.
if you experience it on the PC, then you can't unsee it on the console. Yes.
Right. And so when I've played Cyberpunk on the 3080 versus the Xbox, obviously things are toned down, but the skin textures are still passable. You still see pores in the skin when you play Cyberpunk. I just think there's something going on with Starfield on Xbox.
To help you and on the point of Starfield, for Ally Gang out there, bang bang Ally Gang, there is, and shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark who put me onto that. So shout out to you, good sir. There is a mod out there, very easy to implement mod that basically a simple file you place in the back of in a folder somewhere that they'll instruct you, and then you can literally set your Ally to 900p or 1080p, put your Starfield game to ultra settings, and you're still averaging almost 50-60 frames per second. And I've tried it. It works. Like, it works. So much so that I've taken that same thing and I've put it on my Zoe A1. And I mean, like, it looks better than the Xbox's skin textures and still running at a high frame rate. I don't know what magic that the mod is doing, but it is actually pretty interesting. I don't know if you play Starfield on the Ally, sir, but if you do,
I have not.
trying.
I have not yet. I'm only playing on the 3080 and the Xbox.
I would say to you, because you're playing it on the Xbox, or because you've experienced it on the Xbox, I would dare say try this and report back, because the mod is like literally entry level. Take file, place in folder, you're done. And secondly, you put the settings to ultra as you would in game, and the difference in texture quality on the Ally at high fidelity, you'll just be like, wow, how the hell are they doing this? It's just amazing.
I don't know if this is a thing, but I can say maybe this is a happy accident. So I'm on the 3080 and I do 4K settings, ultra, right?
Yep.
All ultra settings.
Yeah,
I'm playing on the
set it to the highest and move on.
Right. And I'm playing on the I think it's a 42.
FSR 2.0 also turned on. That's a default.
Yes. Yes. And I'm playing on the 47-inch monitor, right? Not widescreen, just actual, like it's a TV.
Yeah.
So it feels like I'm, playing in the living room, close to, right? But on ultra settings on the PC, on the 3080, remember I made nothing else except ultra 4K. It is like 45 frames a second, right? When I put the thing on. So when I go back down to 30, it doesn't hurt that much, as if I was looking at it in 120. You know what I'm saying? Like how you're looking at it on the 4090.
Yeah.
And then going to 30. Like I'm sure you'll see that, but I'm only going from 45 to 30. And I think it makes it less jarring for me to play. It's only the textures that bother me.
Even for you on the 3080, and I know you don't want to get into them waters, that exact same mod that's very easy to implement, literally file, place, and folder, like he started that mod solely on the Ally, and now he's scoped it for higher end CPUs as well, higher end GPUs as well. So you can place a different file in those locations, and with your 3080, you would average over 60 from your 45.
Yeah, I'm not.
You would. It's. I mean, it's a thing.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I don't care enough to do that.
You don't care enough to do it. Of course. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Now, the other thing I do want to say, what's it called? Could it be that you're not getting achievements because you're using the mods? Because I heard the achievements turn off when you use the mods.
So what they mean by achievements turning off when you use mods are achievements that affect the game, meaning achievements that say give you unlimited lives or give you unlimited ammo. And even those mods, depending on the mod, some of the mods can fool the system into thinking that no mod exists, right? So there's a lot, the waters are deep. Specifically what I'm describing is a way of changing the rendering, right? So it's default FSR2, but they are able to change the rendering to make you get more performance for the same rendering budget that's on that hardware, right? But it doesn't affect any in-game anything. So in-game, you're specifically just playing the same game. It just looks better because without it, and you can literally test it, place the file without the file there, put it on ultra settings inside a ROG Ally. This thing is going like 20 frames, 10 frames, a frame per second.
I would love, and it's probably too soon to have this discussion, right? But I really want to talk about this revelation that you come to in the game.
Well, see that you know what? Bright minds think alike, sir. That was my idea for the poll of the week this week, and I guess I'll start that.
I feel
right
like
now.
It's too soon though.
No. But hear me. You'll understand what I'm saying. My question of the week this week is: since we are where we are, and since the game has had such a tail, right? With the pre-launch and then the actual launch and then the in-game pass and all of this, and as more people play, there are more and more being put out there. You noticed that none of us early birds who played it put any pictures of any astronauts floating in space, but now you start seeing astronauts floating in space in round circles as photos being placed on the internet. I didn't do that on purpose, fear of spoilers, right? So the question that I think I'll put in a poll and folks will let us know here is, when can we have that spoiler discussion? Are we talking about, and Everborn, you chime in here, you let me know. Do you think we're having that spoiler discussion before the end of this year? Are we having that spoiler discussion next year out in the open, or as a side?
Neo Mental in the chat says never.
Never. Oh, wow. No, but you know what? But to Neo Mental, and salute to you, good sir. To Neo Mental, I say, how about we have a recorded, watch it if you want to, spoilery, plastered all over the place spoiler discussion. Not on the main channel, not on a stream, so you just get bombarded with it. But we'll have maybe record something on the side. Maybe that's the way we can do that. So if you choose to partake in the spoiler discussion, you can do so.
Wait a minute. Stop right there.
Okay.
Sycamore just showed up.
And
you know he's here for the guts.
And before we continue, Enigmatic Dreams with a $2 super chat. Always trying to make a black man blush. He says, showing support for my favorite podcast. Oh, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I have an idea. I think we need to advertise and do. I know none of us have time, right? But we're going to find time after you and I beat the game, and we're going to have a spoiler cast. And we're going to title it Starfield spoilers, and it's going to be a separate video outside of weekly. So if you don't want to get spoiled, you don't come to that show. And we will invite we will invite Pixel, we will invite Sycamore, we will invite anyone, John Wolf, anybody who wants to have that
conversation. That's right. Anyone who wants to have that conversation, let's invite them. Let's sit down. Let's chop it up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do that talk. Let's talk about what buttons do what, all of that.
You mind your business, right? But there's a specific thing that happens at the end of the game that's like it's sort of a
There's
moral thing,
there's a
and I
revelation
want
and a
to have
twist
that
and a
conversation.
turn and a bob and a weave. There's a bunch of those things. I don't know. Yes. No, but how far have you gotten, sir? Are you at the end or are you still collecting the check?
I think that I'm at the end, but
Okay.
and I'm not gonna say where I am or why I think I'm at the end, but I will say that I have stopped what I was doing, and I've gone back now because I've ignored all the faction quests so far. 3 days in, completely ignored factions. So now I am doing the UC Vanguard quest, and I'm right at the beginning of it with Paramorphs.
Yeah. Okay. Cool,
and
cool.
then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna do the Freestar Collective, and I'm also undercover, but I completely ignored that.
Freestar Collective gets you some really awesome stuff, man. It gets you some really, like, at the end of it, the stuff. I'm not no spoilers, but at the end I was like, yep, it was worth it. And the whole Freestar Collective makes you feel like a Firefly. That whole thing is very Firefly-like.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do all three of those: the undercover mission, the Freestar Collective, and the Vanguard. And I'm hearing Ryujin is good from Lucius Augustus, but and then I don't know how the Crimson Fleet situation works with the undercover mission.
Yeah, I'm still in the undercover mission. So much so that, like, while I'm still within the Crimson Fleet missions, whenever I walk onto like some derelict ship and I meet a bunch of pirates, they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" They no longer shoot on sight. It's great. I don't even want to finish the missions because now I can just kind of walk around and pillage all their stuff, and they don't get upset at me because I'm one of them. You know, it's good. So that should be a pro tip. Start one of those missions so you're one of them, and then just play the whole game, just enjoying yourself, not getting hurt by them, and then later on you can finish it and become enemies again.
Well, can I if I go down the path of that mission, can I get on the ship they let me on, and then I just kill everybody and take the ship?
I will not speak on spoilers, sir. There will be no
spoilers. That's not a spoiler. I just want to know if that's a thing I can do.
See, there are some ships that are monstrous in this game that you can possibly take, and then there are some ships you can't take, and I will leave that to be found out by you.
By the way, the poll, I think there should be another option because I do think this spoiler cast should be live so that people can come in and talk about it. But we're just gonna title it the spoiler cast so the people in that live chat can come in. They'll have it. They'll know. They won't be coming in unannounced or whatever. So
well, okay. Well, let's see who wins in this poll. If it's before the end of the year wins, then we'll do a spoiler cast live. Okay. If it's only recorded, please, then the people have spoken. And it even looks like before the end of the year is winning right now. So let's give a shout out to Acute Perspective. He had some fun on the show that you were on last night. He said you represented well. Shout out. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, we get on there and we have great conversations. It was a fun talk. But you know what? We've belabored the point a little too much. Let us get into some games we've been playing. Yes, the game I've been playing. Because it's the game you've been playing, I will start with games that because here's the deal, okay? We've talked at length about Starfield and how much we love Starfield and all the pluses and all the stuff within Starfield. What I will tell you is I have come to the realization that I can't play one game indefinitely for too long, because then I start resenting the game for some reason. I love the game, I want to continue playing the game, but then I start resenting the game because there are other games that I could be playing. Hence, I'm a grazer, right? Hashtag grazer. Shout out to Palm Soul, right? So I've been looking for palate cleansers, small little light experiences that I can kind of take my brain off of the Starfieldness for a while, and then I can jump back into Starfield without having to learn new systems and all of this. Enter Party Animals. I'm sure you've seen the videos for this Everborn saga. You're probably not interested at all, are you?
Not in the slightest.
Okay. Have you ever played Fall Guys?
Nope.
Okay. Well, then yeah, this is not for you. If you're a person with little kids, if you're a person who, you don't even have to have little kids. This game is like This is me playing by myself at 2 in the morning, and I am cheesing. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I am effing cheesing. I'm sorry, I had to do it. That was just my one. I was cheesing, which was ridiculous to me. Why? Because this game is a combination of the cutest, as you can see, the cutest little goofiest little animals left and right, and the most malicious gameplay out there. They punching, they kicking, they headbutting. It's hilarious. And when they connect, there's just satisfying crunch that the controller does. It is, and I will challenge you not to laugh anytime either you connect with a punch or somebody connects with a punch on you. And of course, they combine all that with really cool little mini games that you can play with a bunch of different people. It is hilarious. It's really, really good. Like, this is Fall Guys top tier. Of course, it happened to fall within the onslaught that is 2023, but it should get a lot of attention, and it will last, because I'm sure they're going to start, throwing a lot of seasons and your multi transactions, and the fare by now. But the moment to moment, just the simple gameplay, oh man, super fun. You can play with the kids. I was having a blast. Like, unlike Fall Guys, where the controls are super simple, here the controls are super simple as well, but you have far more tools. You have your punching, you have your kicking, you can jump kick, you can headbutt, you can pick people up and throw them at any time. You have a bunch of tools at your disposal, right? You can roll, and there's just a lot more mechanics they give you to do a lot of this stuff, right? So it is malicious and cute all at the same time, and I just could not stop playing it. It was hilarious. So there it is, Party Animals. And actually, you know what, Everborn Saga, it's funny, I wasn't gonna do this on this show because I thought about putting this in a different show, but since we've been talking about so much Game Pass content, because technically that is Game Pass content, I will also mention that through the luck of a key mailer, Game Pass has offered us a 3-month code sponsorship thing or whatever. And
nice.
I hadn't even used it. My plan is to give it to the community, because we're subscribed to Game Pass till 2020 whatever, so it's not like I need it. So I will at some point. I will give the code to the community. I will put it in the chat or something like throughout the show today. You'll see me drop codes in. But yes, this game, as is the other game we talked about, Starfield, which you'll see more content of probably as we talk about, are both on Game Pass. We don't have to sell you on Game Pass. If you're watching this show, you're probably as much of a fan of Game Pass as we are. So we thank Game Pass, or Xbox and Game Pass and Keymailer, for allowing us to have something to offer to our community. So thank you guys so much, and we will be sharing some of the codes to the community as well. So guys, if you happen to get a chance, I think it's only US only, so apologies on that. If you happen to, we know you've seen Game Pass codes before. I will drop snippets of the code without the dashes, and whoever gets it, put it together and unlock your 3-month code. So thanks again.
And don't worry, I won't get it because I'm already maxed out on Game Pass.
Exactly. So am I. So there you go. I'm totally maxed out. So it is what it is. That's why I'm like, we don't need that. Let me throw it to the community, but we'll still talk about the greatness that is Game Pass. Absolutely. So, and I see you in here, Gerald Mack. Thank you, sir. He says, I am 85 hours into Starfield, game of the generation. Sir, I will not disagree with you, man. People are like losing their ever-loving minds on this game. I was, as you know, I was on Xbox Infinite yesterday, and Infinite Umbra. I think he said he was 5 days into it, 200 some odd, just ridiculous hours, man. And I think he beat the main campaign. People just can't stop playing this game. So yes, while I am still playing Starfield, I am playing this game. I will quickly move to the next game I'm playing, because I know we're gonna go back to some Starfield talk, but I want to quickly make mention because it deserves to be mentioned, in my humble opinion. It really deserves to be mentioned. So let me see here. Have you had a chance, Mr. Everborn Saga, to try out the new Mortal Kombat?
You know that I haven't had a chance to try out the new Mortal Kombat because I've been playing Starfield.
Well, I got my hands on the new Mortal Kombat. I would show you my unusually large statue. Pause, but it's over there. It's like the biggest statue they could have included in a box. The box is ridiculously large, but the game is amazing. I hope this small bit of footage shows off even a small bit of the fidelity of it, because and I know you've at least been part of the conversation. You've heard the talk where Tekken is out there really like setting a standard, setting a bar for how excellent quality the graphics are looking and all this, right? So people are thinking, and obviously you have Street Fighter out there setting ridiculous Metacritic scores. So people are thinking that, oh, Mortal Kombat will get short shrift this year. But I'm here to tell you, man, this guy came to play. Like, if you see what they have on
Not
display,
on the Switch though, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation, sir. No, not on the Switch. Definitely not on the Switch, but on the Series X, which, by the way, that's what you're looking at here. This is Xbox Series X footage. It's like you're playing FMV characters, right? And obviously, they stitch it together rather well.
Young folks may not know what you mean when you say FMV.
I know. The full motion video characters. I'm sorry. There used to be games back in the day, back in the early days, where they would literally record video footage, right? Hours and hours and hours of video footage, and then they would stitch it together. And then with a controller, right, they would let you control, hey, do you want to go left or do you want to go right? And depending on if you say you want to go left, they play the person walking left video. You say you want to play right, they play the person walking right video. So literally letting you
Sounds
control
like some PlayStation games. Sorry, I'm sorry. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Anyway.
I was only joking.
Yes, he was. So, yeah, Night Trap comes to mind. Shout out to you, good sir. Mr. Pixelbit G in the chat. So, yeah.
Dragon's Lair,
yes. Which was a HMV, HMV full motion video cartoon, which still to this day, I think that was a very ingenious idea. It made it look so beautiful, right? So this game, I mean, you can tell how they're doing it. It's all basically, I wouldn't say they're just cutscenes. There are cutscenes stitched between them, but it's so well done, the transition between cutscene and fight scene, that it's just like, it's benefiting from looking like it's more next gen than it actually does. Like, because if you see some of the poor works, it is, man, I don't know how to describe it. And then of course, there's the new changes to the combat. They've added this tagging system. They've added some odd characters. They've added some odd choices that I don't know how the community feels about it, where some of the characters they add in are that you can tag in are in the game, so you're fine with that. They're in the game, and others are just from Mortal Kombat lore. They explain it in the lore later, but just like out of nowhere, a Mortal Kombat character you remember from other Mortal Kombats will just show up in game, kick some butt.
I'm
and then
sure
peace
they'll
out.
make them playable later, though, right?
Probably, they're out there about the monies, and I have no issues about it. One of the first DLC that with the premium edition you get is the boys, the characters, what the hell? What's the guy's name? Why is the names escaping me? Give me some characters of the boys from the TV show The Boys.
Homelander.
There you go. Keep going. Those characters will be playable in this game in a future
Well,
game.
isn't it just Homelander, and then you have from Invincible, you have Omni-Man?
You have
right?
Omni-Man,
I think it's only Homelander from.
Yeah, Homelander and then Omni-Man and no, I think there's also, darn it, I forget the guy's name. Like, he is their equivalent of the Flash. He's also in the game.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, like I've seen him in this game. Yes. Like he's
the drug addict.
Yes, the drug addict. Yes, I think I've seen him. I could be wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong. A-Train, that's it. Yeah, I think I saw A-Train in this game. Yeah. So needless to say, it's got a bunch of characters, and they're gonna throw a lot at it as they do. but they've changed the storyline like from soup to nuts. Like anything you remember has been turned on its head like drastically, and I think they've done a really, really good job in doing so. It's really good, like very well done. And you know how we were talking about how Starfield, the reason why people can't, why we think Starfield is great is because it transcends its genre by stitching so many things together and doing it, even if it's not doing it better than every one of them, but it's doing it so close that it kind of as a package is better than the others. You feel me? Remember we had that conversation? I feel
Absolutely.
I feel like in this specific instance, this is 80s B movie, right? Formula, solid 80s B movie formula, purposefully chosen, stitched with like uncharted levels of cinematics and graphics, and then the best of Mortal Kombat, all in one.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very serious question. I want you to think mindfully of this.
Yeah.
Should Ed Boon, at the very least, co-direct the Mortal Kombat movies? Would this translate well to a live action movie? Because so far, apart from that amazing theme song in the first Mortal Kombat movie, the Mortal Kombat movies have been generally terrible, and they almost touched something in the beginning of the last Mortal Kombat movie with the Scorpion Sub-Zero clan war. That was interesting, and then they got to present day and it got stupid.
See,
so
now I don't want to be the actually guy.
Would
but
this be cheesy?
The animated versions are always better than the real live versions. But
yeah,
okay.
well, I can actually push back a little bit on that because people say this about the DC movies, and yes, that's fine. But I don't know if beat for beat those animated movies would translate well to live action. And that's why I asked this question. Well, they're great for what they are, but we don't
watch the last animated movie. I swear to you, it will translate to live action, and it is the bloodiest. Like, it'd be rated N for nobody watching it. Like, it's just totally too much, but it's a great movie, right? Like, it could have been a live action, but no, I hear your point. Please continue.
Yeah, so I just there's a lot of things that you kind of and we don't do that. We do this subconsciously, right? We don't. We're not purposefully doing this, but when you're watching something animated, you cut it a different level of slack than watching something live action, because it is easier to suspend your disbelief with animation. And with something, once you make the transition to live action, you need a certain level of verisimilitude that you where you believe it, right? And so is this something where if you just replace this with live actors, it would be interesting, or would it be cheesy and stupid? Because you can get away with cheese in digital form.
Yep, absolutely. No, I don't disagree.
I don't know the answer to this question. I'm asking it because I haven't played this yet.
It is an interesting place to find ourselves when it comes to like that medium and them expressing it the way they are. But I'll be interested to hear your thoughts once you've seen this. And yes, I know there are those out there, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, the whole thing. But I would advocate that you don't watch it on YouTube and you play it and watch it together. It kind of gives it a completer package. But let's talk about it after you've had some time with the game, like in some time. I know, we tend to talk about old games on this show. So this will be an old game in 6 months.
This sounds like a January discussion.
That's right. This sounds like a January discussion. So like, it is a beautiful game, and they've done a lot to upend it. And I kind of agree with you. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting idea to let Ed Boon be in the room where it happens when they make the next movies. While I cut the real movies more slack than you do, I do think that to transcend Mortal Kombat and get it to the serious place that it deserves to be, they need to have its creators there in the room.
Well,
influencing it.
WB is in a very unique position to do that. And do we know that Ed Boon wasn't in the room for these movies? So the reason I'm asking this, right? Sony, again, uniquely in the position to where they are a Hollywood studio. They have the tools, they have the contacts, so they can empower a video game director to be in the room and have sort of final say over a production, right? Warner
Shout out
Brothers.
I'm sorry. Shout out to Paris Lily in the chat. He says Sonic is the Silverhawks of gaming. Shout out to
I
you,
am.
sir.
He just came here to hate
He
because
just came here, every
he's
once in a while,
intimidated by Sonic on the
every once in a
17th.
while,
When Sonic is coming to collect knees.
People feel the need to come and put the boot on the neck of the Everborn saga, and I am here for it. It is a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Salute
Okay,
to you.
Vlad. All right, Vlad.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anytime I see
brought
Vlad,
that
I
on
gotta take a
himself,
minute.
and I do not believe the choice of wife beater that he was wearing by accident. That's, you
know
want
what I'm
the tinfoil
saying?
kufi, there it is. I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh my goodness. It's this. Come on, I'm sorry. Seriously, someone from Bethesda needs to come out and say, look, we're sorry. We love Paris. Like, they just need a mea culpa, because until they do, this thing's gonna bubble up and turn into a problem.
By the way, Paris, I would like to point out that was my most liked tweet of the week. So it's not just me.
Oh no, for sure, it's not just you. Absolutely. First thing I saw when I saw that, man, I'm like, come on now, what are we doing here? Someone needs to talk to Mr. Paris Lily and get his lawyers on deck, because we have a problem here.
He is Vlad from now on. Now they're gonna have to rename the character in the game, or I'm renaming Paris.
Hold on, let me catch this quick super chat.
And Boom has entered the chat. Shout out to Boom.
Shout out to Mr. You too, Mr. Boomstick. Welcome. Oh my goodness, happy Saturday to you, man. Freaking Vlad. I still can't get over Vlad. Anyway. BT Maverick 707, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, BT Maverick. He says, here we go. Love how all the news sites start freaking out that it's the end of physical media as soon as Xbox shows the Xbox Series X without a disk drive. But they pretend that diskless PS5s do not exist. Facepalm.
Yes, and everybody freaked out when Microsoft was talking about adapting video games to TV and movies, and now we can't stop talking about Last of Us and giving it Emmys, right?
There you go. Yep.
TV. Nobody's worried about that. Although we got a Horizon show, a God of War show, a Last of Us show, Uncharted movie, and Gran Turismo movie. Bring on all of that. But when you know who said it, it was a problem.
Then it's TV.
You can say I have a persecution complex. You can say whatever I want. Everyone was in on that, and this is like the media, everybody else. They're not focused on games. Meanwhile, we can't stop adapting games, and we can't ask them to, hey, adapt this and adapt that. So, and then this whole death of physical media, DRM, always online. That's the hellscape we're in, and everybody's just happy to take it now. But it is
what it is. It is.
People don't like change, I guess, until their favorite thing does it.
That's right. Now, it will be interesting to see where the next Switch falls, because if the next Switch still has a cartridge, which I hear by and large that many people are like convinced it'll still have a cartridge. That'll be a very interesting place we see ourselves, where both PlayStation and Xbox are both leaning towards the side of diskless, whereas Nintendo is still full bore in the cartridge world, right? It separates them even more as a competitor. It would be interesting.
So that is interesting. It's just I don't know who said this, and I don't want to take credit for it because I'm just repeating something that I heard, but I agree with it. The only true game preservation mechanism is PC and emulation. Yes. So this idea of physical media is not really going to save you these games, because that hardware will not run forever that it was natively designed to run on. So if you want to keep things around, make sure emulators stay legal, and these games will be around, and they will continue to be around in perpetuity.
And oh, by the way, as much as you love them, stop making Fortnite the game of the game. Stop making Apex Legends the game, because those favorite games of yours, when they no longer become lucrative, they go away and no emulation can save them, right? When they're server-based games, you will lose them eventually. They will go away and all of your money spent will just disappear into the ether. Unless you have a game that is locally rendered, available to you, that is not dependent on a server, you know, in that major way, like light dependency on server, offline mode, stuff like that, we can get around. But server side specifically based games, the more we get in that direction, the more of a dystopia we're getting into when it comes to game preservation. Go ahead, everyone. You were saying?
No, I just remember the days of the Matrix Online game, which like continued the story of the Matrix after the original trilogy ended. And it was a very interesting, like, it was like life imitating art, because people didn't want to pay the monthly fee, so they would hack into the Matrix server and have a whole character and play it for free. And then once the service shut down, people kept it going. I don't know if the community still, I don't know how long they kept it going. Or if it still is going. But you would have to find a way to jack into the Matrix. Online. Yes, they did. I didn't. That's where I got off of it. I was like, I'm not doing this thing.
Nah, this is not cool. They killed them, and they kept
like,
it
first we getting
now. Like, no,
we're getting killed during the credits of movies and Scream. We're getting killed trying to protect people. We're just. And now they're killing you after the movie is over. So you see a black guy in the movie. He didn't die before the credits roll, but they're going to get him in the video game later. I don't like it.
Neither did I. I'll agree with you on that one. I didn't like that one either. Absolutely.
Give me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back. I got to run to the kitchen to get.
No worries. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, I will regale y'all with some more. Like, I will at least finish my tale and say, if you haven't seen or played Mortal Kombat, like, I really recommend you do, because the game is just like, there, as you can see on your screen here. I know some folks have already tried it out, and it kind of, I don't know, man, a lot of games, a lot of righteous, valuable games are getting lost in the shuffle because there's just too many games this year. I'm hoping that by next year and by learning about all this, they'll start staging out their games, letting it breathe a little more, because I really feel like games like this need some room to breathe on their own. You know what I'm saying? They need some room to breathe. They need some time to shine and let you get into it and really be able to enjoy it without it being eclipsed by Starfield or eclipsed by Baldur's Gate or be eclipsed by another game. You know what I'm saying? And it's becoming a snowball effect that's just unattainable. I don't know, but you know, for us grazers, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't just keep playing Starfield anymore, right? I still think about it. I'm still playing it all the time, but in between that time, I'm also playing other games. Oh, real quick, by the way, for those who see the photos, the screen like sticking, right? When you see my screen locking from a little time to time, it's not the screen actually locking. It's me going, oh man, what an amazing shot, and using the photo mode. And you don't see the manifestation of that. You don't see the UI coverage and all that. It just pauses the video. It pauses the game, lets me do my Photoshop mode, and then you continue. Oh yes, Everborn. I was telling people because I saw some folks ask, why is the video pausing? It's not pausing. It's just me taking pictures, and it pauses looking that way. But yes, tell me, Everborn, what do you think of this thought? Like, as much as I love that we're getting game after game after game after game, I feel like kind of how it felt at the beginning of at the end of the first COVID year of E3, where we heard, you know, at the beginning of it, it was like, oh, E3 is not going to be 3 days, it's going to be a month. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then by the end of it, with Summer Game Fest and this and that, we were like, yeah, maybe it was not really all it was cracked up to be. Right? Same in the same feel, in the same vein, you know, we're hearing 2023 is an onslaught of games. We're like, yay! But with all these games coming out, one after another, none of them are getting the attention they deserve. I feel like in hindsight, they might learn the lesson that don't crunch them so close together, and it may it may have been detrimental for all of them. What are your thoughts, sir?
So, I don't know if that's a great analogy because the E3 turned out to be terrible, if it even happened. So
True.
this is different because these games are actually good.
Yes,
But
they are. Yes, they are. I'm talking about more terrible in the sense of like people giving it the attention it deserves, which translates into sales.
Right. So what I'm getting at is it's a difficult thing because there's a lot of games that were, in pre-production before the pandemic, or they were further along and they came out. But it just so happens you have a lot of these teams that were working on these things, and everybody got delayed for 2 years. And at a certain point, you have to put these games out because you need to keep the doors open. And I do think we're good. Like, this is just a result of all the pent up sort of development and projects that were going on. So I do think it will slow down, but I think this year and next year are we're going to see all the games that we should have gotten over the course of 2020 and 2021. And then I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it level out a little bit, but I don't think there's anything we can do. It just kind of sucks. This is a year where you probably have 10 to 12 legitimate Game of the Year candidates, but it just doesn't matter, right?
And do we think that once again will then be that pendulum swinging again, which will then once again set an unrealistic expectation for the following years to come when it's not as hot and heavy as it is now?
Well, I don't think so, because I don't think anybody has the time to play all of these games anyway. Like, unless you don't have you don't have a job, right?
So I wish I had that problem. Oh Lord.
And Web Dave, yes, I do have a head cold. I would have canceled the show today, but we canceled last week, so I'm doing this for you guys. But anyway, I think there's a separate concern here with all these games that we're seeing. We have a lot of games and a lot of new studios and old studios that are putting a lot of money and time and resources into developing these games, and competition is so stiff that games that otherwise would have made a return on their investment are failing. Look at Immortals of Aveum, right? Look at that WB game that had all the characters in it, right? It was supposed to, right?
It came out and then they shut it down after people had invested all that money. You know what I mean? Come on,
right? And so and now we're looking at Gotham Knights. They spent God knows how many years on that. That didn't do well.
And Gotham Knights is coming to Game Pass if it's not already in Game Pass. It's coming soon.
And they pushed back Suicide Squad, and like, is there any really going to be saving that? So I'm saying all this to say, if you look at what's happening with Embracer, if you're looking at how, let's say, the Forspoken team got folded into Square, if we see all the layoffs over at Crystal Dynamics and everything that's happening at Embracer, studios and publishers are investing hundreds of millions of dollars into games, and they may not hit. And even if they're good now, we're seeing, because I didn't hear anything bad about Immortals of Aveum, it's just nobody had time for it, right? So we're going to be in a place where I think you're going to have studios that invest 5+ years and $200 million into games, and they're just financial losses, and you cannot suffer that. So you're going to see layoffs, and you're going to see downsizing. You're going to see spinning off. You're going to see closing of studios, folding in of studios.
Well,
this is why
before the horse now. You're leading us. We have a story. We're going to talk about that soon. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Specifically with Embracer and the rest of them. Yeah.
Right. But, well, forget about Embracer. I just think it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
You see a year like this where, through no fault of the devs' own, it's just the competition is so stiff that great games get lost in the shuffle, right? And I'm saying all that
I will say Immortals of Aveum, I did hear that it started off rough, though, from a technical perspective. It was too rough for consoles and a little for PC, but your point does still stand.
Right. So, and then we can look at crafting with the Callisto Protocol
With
thing,
Callisto
right?
Protocol, which
It's
also
very
started off rough.
difficult, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna thread this needle. So just give me
Yeah,
a
go
little
ahead.
bit of runway to land this plane.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, part of it is why, if there's an opportunity for a studio to be sort of saved via an acquisition, and acquisitions aren't always great, because we see Embracer, they had literally no plan. They would just like buy studios, step 1, step 2, step 3, billions of dollars, right? So they never figured out the step 2.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this happen now, but this could happen to even well-run, well-planned studios. So, if I'm going to ask you right now, and I know we're kind of preaching to the choir a little bit here with our audience, right? But step outside of yourself for a minute. And if you found out Embracer was going to, let's say you hate consolidation, right? Sure. And most people that are saying they hate consolidation don't. They just hate when their favorite company's not doing consolidation. But anyway, that's besides that. If you heard that Crystal Dynamics, right? And I'm gonna make this so I can get what I think will be an honest answer as we can. Would you rather, because you hate consolidation, would you rather Crystal Dynamics get shut down, or if Sony came along and said we're going to save that studio? Exactly. I guarantee you, even all the Xbox fans here would say I'd rather Sony get it. That's because right. I don't want that studio to get shut down.
Yes,
I agree. And so this is what happens. Now, the good thing about that is that new studios will arise, and it will be difficult for them as well. But my largest point here is that I think that the video game industry is in a place where it has been too envious of Hollywood, right? And so they are turning their games into Hollywood productions, and many of them are forgetting about what makes games, right? And so when you see a Shredder's Revenge, when you see a Vampire Survivors, right? When you see even a Hi-Fi Rush, right? When you look at what they're trying to do with the new Prince of Persia, right? I think those games have much smaller budgets, and I think it's much easier for those things to get that return on their investment. So what I'm asking for, or what I'm pointing out, is that instead of trying to be big movies where you got to do Hollywood accounting to make your money back, how about we focus on why people are here in the first place, which is actual games. You don't have to have $100 million budget, right? You everybody's talking about how fun Party Animals is, and I'm not saying there's no place for that. Like what I'm seeing on the screen is great. What's in Starfield is great. I'm sure Spider-Man is going to be great. Yeah. But everything doesn't have to be that, and everything also doesn't have to be like a service game. So
and by
it's
the
just
way,
something to think
even
about.
Spider-Man doesn't have to be that, because there were cinematic games that were doing great things back in the 90s and the early 2000s when no budgets were that big, and they were still doing well. They've come a long way, and ambitions have grown. As long as you quell those ambitions a bit, you can still make very quality games with a tempered budget, right? It's just that as the ambition has grown, so has the budgets, right? It's good.
Well, I do.
Go ahead.
So Pragmatic Eagle in the chat says it's not about the budget, it's about new ideas. Here's the problem with that, right? And because we have to be candid and we have to be practical. And in theory, yes, it's about the new ideas. However, when you have 100, 200, 300 million dollars on the line for a game, you cannot be experimental with your ideas. You need to do things that are proven that they work. The enemy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Creativity becomes the enemy. Experimentation becomes the enemy. Uncertainty becomes the enemy when you have so much invested. Absolutely. Yep.
Now, furthermore, and we had this conversation about the Switch, and we want the Switch with better graphics. And what if Nintendo actually tried to compete in terms of hardware? Pragmatic Eagle, you called BS on what I said. I would like to. No, it's fine, right? We're not here to agree. This is a discussion. Why I would like you, if you feel like it, tell me why you think that's BS, right? Like, tell me what I said that you disagree with, or that you think is wrong. If you have $200 million on the line and investors that you have to answer to and things like that. Okay, so, and don't tell me, look what Zelda did, a damn near 40-year-old franchise, right?
Because Nintendo has been unique in their lane in showing that their business model is just different than everybody else's, right? They also spend, because myself and Everborn actually had that debate a couple days ago, and they're like, well, they don't have to worry about graphics output. I actually contend that they probably have to worry about graphic output more than anyone else, because they have to spend a lot of time covering up for the things that you expect to see, right? So all of them spend a lot of man hours. The question is, do they put the money on the screen that you see in graphics, or do they put them in the skill set of the individuals that are going to be putting those games out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and the point that I was making vis-a-vis the Switch, which I think is related to this, I contend that each company, right, in the console business today, they take their core competencies and they imbue that into their business model. So Nintendo is a toy company. It's about fun and playing with those toys, and they do that digitally through Mario, Zelda, whatever else. Sony is a movie studio, so their games are sort of interactive stories, which is fine and great, and we love it, sure. Microsoft is a software and services company, and this is why they keep introducing new technology to the video game landscape, and they're introducing interesting services, Xbox Live, achievements, now Game Pass. So they're doing that and pushing the industry forward from a technological point, right? Standpoint, right? Sony's motion capture is best in the industry because, again, they're a movie studio. They have access to those things. Nintendo is a toy company, so they focus hardcore on the gameplay. And so my argument is that Nintendo games like Mario, like Mario Kart, like Zelda, like Metroid, it is the same concept of independent movies that have smaller budgets. They don't have the luxury of doing a volumetric background with a bunch of explosions on. They have to find innovative ways to interest you because they are constrained on the budget. And what I am saying is, if we look at Nintendo, because they're constrained on the hardware, you have a certain amount of time to ship a game. You're either going to spend all that time making the game look pretty, or you're going to spend if you're not concerned about it looking like Horizon Forbidden West, you're going to spend that time on the gameplay, and you're going to get people to be there, and they will be just as interested.
I will argue.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
They have infinite time on the game, because they're the ones who make those games and then put them on the shelf for strategic release.
No business has infinite time, but I understand.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yes. Now, but again, my whole point is they have no choice but to focus on the gameplay, because they cannot wow you with pretty CG and FMVs and things like that, right? So they're forced
so they have to
be more.
Yeah, of course. And I don't
they're
disagree.
Forced to be more creative. And so I say all of this to say, if by and large the video game industry cuts back their budgets, that mind power, instead of worrying about how to render textures better, will be put towards innovative gameplay ideas, and they won't be risking as much, so it won't be samey. So this is not like, in principle, yes, give the creators all the money in the world. That doesn't work in practice.
But you also
They're still running businesses.
But you also know that the tube of toothpaste has been squirted out all over the floor. And what you're saying now is you're advocating that they put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's never going to happen. There are people still to this day paying Star Citizen to be Star Citizen. like those ballooning budgets that come with ambition. Like back in the day, the reason why you saw what you saw is because that's all they could do, right? That was them being on the edge. That's all they could do back then. Now they see they can do far more. Asking them to artificially limit themselves for budget reasons, while a reasonable ask, and I think in many respects you are right on that. I do still think that in certain cases, it's a little too late right now. In certain cases, and that's why you have your SaaS models and stuff. Rather than going backwards and going back to what was tried and true, now they're trying other ways of continuing to be big budgeted while still making the money, right? Hence SaaS and multiple transactions and things like that.
Microtransactions. But
micro.
Again, if we are looking at, and again, I don't want to make this about mobile, right? Because I know that's like a hot button word. You say mobile, and then people getting their feelings or whatever. But mobile is making the most money. It has the smallest budgets, and again, not all of it is microtransaction hellscapes, but it is making the most money. And it's not about the best graphics there. It is about finding interesting ways to delight the gamers and keep them attached. And so all I am saying is, we can say, oh, they don't need to cut back the budgets because they're making all this money, or, oh, they don't need to do that. But we're also saying that while we're watching studios close down that spend $200 million on games that didn't hit.
You know what, Mr. Everborn Saga? On that point, I'm going to take a quick pause, and I'm going to ask everybody to please hit the like button if you haven't hit it already. We have about 130 plus people in here and 75 likes. If you're liking the topics, if you're liking the banter, please consider hitting the like button. Consider subscribing if you're new here. We try to put this on through rain or sleet, rain or shine, head colds or not. We're here for you. We appreciate it. And on the topic of Mr. Everborn Saga and his head cold, I'm gonna let you get off a little bit because we missed last week.
Whoa! Hey, yo!
Big
wow!
I didn't mean it like that. We missed last week because of life reasons, but so we didn't get a chance to really get in on this conversation. The dust has settled a little bit. There's been an open letter. Mr. Everborn Saga, Mr. Developer, Mr. Indie Developer, Mr. Use of Unity. What are your thoughts on the state of Unity today?
Well, it would be different than if we had the conversation last week, because
it's actually good that we haven't had the convo, because now the dust has settled a little bit. People have had a chance to think it through. An open letter has been written. They've said things, double backed, said it again, double backed again. Where are we now?
I mean, so a lot of layers to this. But I think everyone that reacted to the disgusting way that Unity put out that change and the clarity that wasn't behind it, it was real amateur hour, and so how about they got everything.
Give us a quick background on what exactly happened.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this from
really quick
from one-man development team on the ground. It's just me, and I have 2 artists, and that's all I got, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you this from my perspective. You could use Unity before this. The way it worked is you have several different licensing models. You could go the free route, the education route, whatever. That's personal. There used to be, this is the one I was signed up to, Unity Plus, right, which is somewhere between personal and professional. Then you have Unity Enterprise, and the difference is the personal is the free tier, Plus is the paid tier. It's like $35 a month, so it's good if you're just getting started out. And then there was, if you made a game and it hit a certain threshold in revenue, you would owe them a percentage of that revenue, and that's fine, and it's understood. And their threshold, I believe it was 5% before, but don't quote me on that, just because I've never hit the threshold, so I don't know. I didn't look into exactly how much it was, but you got to release your games before you get to hit the threshold, right? But if you're familiar with UE5, shout out to Umbra, they have $1 million threshold. So your game has to make $1 million, or you got to get $1 million in funding, and then you owe them money. And that has been widely understood. Unity had a lower threshold, but people, they were kind of okay with that. Now, they changed this last week, or they wanted to change it last week, and they came out and they said, instead of going for the revenue share model, we want to switch to a download model. So if anyone downloads your game and you're in the personal tier, if you get more than 200,000 downloads and $200,000 in revenue, you owe us 20 cents per download. And everybody says, wait a minute, I didn't agree to that. What are you doing? The terms of service in the version of Unity, I'm gonna thread the needle. The terms of service in the version of Unity doesn't say anything about that. And they said, we have altered the deal. Pray we do not alter it further. Right? So everybody rightfully lost their mind. But if you were to bump up your subscription to the $200 a month professional model, that number goes up to $1 million and 1 million downloads. But it is still retroactive. And retroactive does not mean that you owe them money for past downloads. Retroactive meant you've met the threshold. So any new downloads that you get past January 2024, you're going to now owe them money. And if you want enterprise, then the threshold goes from 1 million to 5 million. And everyone rightfully lost their mind. Hashtag, leave Unity, I think got trending or something like that. Everybody was saying, let me look into UE5, let me look into Godot. And they'd broken trust. People were talking about class action lawsuits. It was a complete, and then they had this garbage FAQ, and then they would try to answer people in live chat in a Twitter threads by copy and pasting the same answers. It was disgusting. And everybody's like, you can change this, you can try to apologize. Don't clarify anything because you're gonna change the rules on us again, as soon as you can. We know you're looking to F us over, right? And I know a lot of people say, oh, just leave Unity. Unity got as popular as it did in the mobile space for small teams for a very good reason. It is very easy to use, it's easy to understand, and it uses a language that's easier for people to pick up than C++ and coding so close to the metal. Unity uses C# as its default language. You could do stuff in JavaScript, but for the most part, it's very clean. It's very simple to understand. It's very easy to get a project up and running. And a lot of teams have built careers on that, learning Unity. And so to ask them to switch is like, as a principal protest, great. But if you got a project that's 4 years into development, you're not just going to switch up and move it to a whole new thing. So that's not a realistic ask. So they just had a lot of people, by the ball. So now they come out with the open letter after everyone lambasted them, and there was a death threat, and they had to shut down the offices. And it turns out the call was coming in from in the house, and it was an employee that made the death threat. Whole thing was terrible. You can make a movie out on that, and I will let you explain how terrible this
somebody made a movie.
CEO has been in the other companies that he's been a part of. So I need to take like a breathing break from all of that. You explain where we are now. I'm here.
Yes.
You
No,
go ahead.
I understand. Yes. Please breathe. But no. So now they had an open letter. They're starting the mea culpa campaign with the community. I honestly think that I don't even want to take anything they're saying here seriously as you're described, Everborn, because they've made so many changes on the ground they've made so many shifts on the ground, right? And they're talking different revenue shifts now. The revenue shares
I do want to
now.
say, I do want to say before you continue,
Please.
just cliff notes, too long didn't read.
Mhm.
I read this. These are very fair terms,
Yes, they are. They
right?
are. But will
But
they
can
continue to
you
be
trust them?
That's my point.
Right.
That's my
So, but
point.
this, I do want to say that, right?
Yes.
These, they should have led with this.
Yeah.
This is fair for the developer. I
Mhm.
hope it makes them make money, and it is more clearly outlined. And their whole marketing department should be fired based on the damage that they've done for them to go out with messaging like this.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
I hear you. I hear you on
effing
that.
crazy. But go ahead,
I hear you.
continue.
No. I honestly I put this story in there because I needed you to vent a little, because I know you use Unity. I know this thing came and hit you on the head like a ton of bricks. You and a bunch of other indie developers, and we hadn't had a chance to hear your thoughts on it yet. So I threw this in here just to see what your thoughts are, and I think I understand exactly where you're coming from.
One thing I do want to say that I forgot to mention, what this was all about was pushing everyone on Unity to the professional license, which is $200 a month, because it is very unlikely that, you know, if you once you get that $1 million threshold, then it's on the pro tier, then it's only 15 cents for the first 500,000 downloads after your first million. And then it goes down to 10 cents, and then it goes down to 3 cents if you get into 2 million downloads.
It's favoring all the big guys and gouging the little guys.
Right, because the $200,000 and download threshold is way too low. You're not making any money, and you could owe Unity money, end up going bankrupt, and they were going to bill you based on trust us, bro. They if you were an enterprise, those numbers were even lower. So this was really a price increase on the licensing subscription more than everything else. And all the stuff, the download fee was just to scare you into the higher tier. That's what they were really trying to do outside of everything they were saying.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Isn't this kind of the wishy-washy way that Microsoft tried to scare people? Well, not scare, but try to push people into the higher tier of Game Pass, not Game Pass, well, they were trying to get people into Game Pass by increasing the price of Xbox Live, and people protested. Same kind of
but
idea.
I'm paying $35 a month, and they wanted to push me to the $200
tier. Yeah,
that's
ridiculous.
wild.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Yes, but no, I will leave it there.
By the way, that's per seat. So if you have a 5-man or a 5-man team, you're paying them $1,000 a month.
And there was this whole thing was crazier than people remember. Like, there were talks about it was per download, and multiple downloads did count against it. So like, if you really thought it to its fullest intent, there's a world where if this existed, you hate a game, you and your buddies can make a plan to download delete to screw the publishers, because the developers, because it would make them pay more money. Like, crazy ramifications that this would have brought to bear. It's good that they at least have come to more of an amicable, more agreeable place in terms.
But we know what they want. Right? And so it's just like, as soon as they can get away with it, they will.
They will, yeah, absolutely. But all right, let us move on. Because you know who we are.
Oh, wait, last thing about this.
Yes.
The first thing I thought when I heard about this is, all these gaming acquisitions, Microsoft should buy Unity. And I'm not saying Microsoft needs to buy everybody, but it makes too much sense. The default code editor in Unity is Visual Studio. The default language is C#, Microsoft's language. Microsoft actually knows how to license software in a way that everyone understands, agrees with, and they would probably put it in their MSDN subscription.
So
if you work in software development, you know what I'm saying is true. Search your feelings. You know this to be true.
While I don't disagree with you on that, hey, I know that reference. I do say the problem there is Microsoft has been sitting on a bunch of other engines, have done nothing with it so far, and they've been favoring Unreal, an external engine, in favor of their own internal engines, and they have many. So like, I don't understand, or there would need to be someone of vision in that area that knows that engine would be useful to them and really thread that needle for them in order for that to happen. Because they're sitting on id Tech. They're sitting on so many other engines that could be used for more, and they're doing nothing with it.
Okay, but see, right there, that language you're using, I don't know if you try to be provocative, but it's actually not true what you're saying, right? If we want to talk about engines, right? Forza Motorsport's about to come out. They just completely did that engine. We already heard that id is working on id Tech 8.
Yes.
Right. So these are things that we know. Now they have some teams that prefer to use Unity.
What I mean by that is
they're playing Starfield on the Creation Engine, right? Like what are we saying?
No. See, on that, I think we're having two different conversations. I think, yes, Starfield on Creation Engine. Yes, Doom on the id Tech engine. But I think it's specifically Doom, not even the Creation Engine. The id Tech's engine should be leveraged to other developers. Microsoft should leverage that more than they do Unreal. Why? Because that's their in-house engine, right? Use this thing that has been like legendary in gaming to its fruition. Instead, you're letting it sit there, just be a tool that it uses whenever they want to use it.
But that's not how software development works, though, right?
I know.
They bought ZeniMax 2 years ago,
sure,
and they already had a bunch of projects that were already 3 years into development.
It's a long-term play. I hear you on that. But that's my point is, because they have those engines, the idea of buying Unity would then be like head scratching, because you do have a bunch of in-house engines that could compete with Unity themselves.
We also don't know that, right? Because part of the reason Unity and Unreal have become so ubiquitous is because they hide a lot of that internal legwork to get some of these things up and running, right?
But specifically with id Tech, though, like their source engine back historical references to it. They've actually even ported the id Tech engine and created, I think they created Void with it, or was that Source? I think that may be Source. But id Tech specifically has been experimented more in a commercial sense and has been successful in other games, right? And
when was the last time it was successful, though?
This was before Microsoft owned them.
Okay.
My point is, this is Microsoft.
Long before Microsoft owned them.
This is Microsoft, the company that takes their services and offers it as services. You have an online development suite right now that has everything in it except an actual engine. It has everything you need to start developing except the actual engine you need, right? Why wouldn't you throw id Tech in it? Why wouldn't you throw? There's so many
because you don't just throw an engine in
I
it
understand
like that.
I know I'm
but we can't say we're doing derivative.
I know I'm being derivative. What I'm saying is they have in the past made those engines available for commercial use and not only internal use. And I'm saying that Microsoft, like you're saying, being their core competencies, offering software and services, I'm surprised that they have not, or they are not in the middle of leveraging those engines in a commercial sense as well, because that is money left on the table for them. Like you're offering everything else except an engine. And I hear you on the Unity point. Had they added that to their PlayFab offering, that would also be cool. Am I wrong in that? Or am I mistaken?
No. That would be great. What I'm getting at though is they say they want to push into mobile, right?
Yeah.
And Unity is the de facto mobile.
Yeah. So
engine,
if you're there with a priority of mobile, then I hear you. Okay. If
but
mobile
also,
is the play, then okay, I hear you.
But it integrates so well because another big moneymaker for Unity is those cloud services that they offer. Because right now, I, being a subscriber of Unity, I don't build any of my code locally. I check it in.
Okay.
Right. They build it in the cloud and I can deploy right from there, and I can connect into their other cloud services for like monetization, leaderboards, all those things that I can do through them. Those are all things that Microsoft could provide. This is the
Sure,
missing
yes.
piece, and this would fit in way easier than an InTech or a creation engine or whatever, or Slip Space, or even Forza
those
Tech.
engines, because these engines, this engine is already pre-created for commercial use. There's no need to take it there. It's already
And the
there.
services are there in place.
And
It
they're
just
already
makes
there, yeah.
way
I
too
do
much
hear you.
sense. And
hear
I
you.
guarantee you, Microsoft would have never came out with this. You owe us 20 cents per download, because
for
Microsoft
sure.
knows how to charge for software.
Yes, they do. Yes,
This is what they do. So again, regulators would never let this happen, but because they would say too many developers would be dependent on Microsoft. But it makes sense. I think it would be good as a developer. Forget about Xbox fan. I'm just talking about as a businessman, as somebody who's running his own one-man studio, 3-man. We're counting the artists, right?
Sure.
But I said one man because I'm talking about the software
Coder,
development.
yes.
I'm not. Shout out to Mike Banting and the artist. And Francis Martellino also. He's the artist on Prince of Arcadia. Mike Banting is the Redlands and Ariel's Adventure. But I say that to say it would make a lot of sense, right? As a developer, as a business person, there are so many synergies that it would be actually good for the developer, for Microsoft to do this. And I hope their eye is there, but they can't do it while Lena Khan's in office. So whenever she steps out of the front, I absolutely think they should move on this, because Unity and Microsoft just make sense.
Pixel Bit G with $2 super chat saying, you buy Unity to shore up third parties. Interesting. That's interesting. So what the play would be, you buy it to shore up third parties so that when third party games come out, they then have to have a version for you because it's your engine. They kind of do that now, right, with DirectX. I don't know how well that has worked for them. I mean, it has worked, but they were going to get a copy.
Everybody either uses DirectX or Vulkan, right?
Or Vulkan, yeah, true. It has worked for them. Okay. Well, all right. So because Mr. Everborn Saga's voice and he's not feeling so well, we're gonna try and run through these topics a bit quicker and get to some ABK and maybe some leak talk. But before we get there, please,
maybe some leak talk. The leak is why everybody came here, sir. We have to talk about that. Those are not maybes.
We're 100% going to talk leaks, right? But yes. But let me blow through the rest of these as quickly as we possibly can. Okay.
Hey, yo.
Stop with the pause talk. Stop it. Valve saying don't expect a Steam Deck for at least a few years, 2025, 2026.
Good. That is how consoles work.
Exactly.
You don't
That's
want
why
people
I brought
having
this
to buy new hardware every 1-2 years. That's the PC world.
But even that is not necessarily true. Not 1-2 years, because every change of a console of a PC generation from a graphics processor gives you a big uplift, and that's 3-4 years. That's when it's really big. It's not don't let Nvidia fool you. That's not when you change. You change when the ecosystem.
Is that why you got a 3080 and then a 4090 a year later, or is that not why?
No. Stop that.
What?
You need to calm
I'm
yourself.
trying to understand what's happening.
You need to calm yourself. My habits do not represent the habits of the entire gaming ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's why you're gonna buy that Lenovo handheld. But go ahead.
Sure. You do that. Well, the reason I bring it up is because this tells you if you guys are if you are on the train of let's see what because there's so much competition in the space, let's see what Steam Deck does. They're not even thinking about getting into the market until maybe 2026. And the reason for that is by that time, all the stuff that Nvidia has today, AMD I should say, has today that they're offering, they will have, by economies of scale, gotten the uplift for the next nanometer uplift from there, gained all of the benefits therefrom, and still be able to be cost effective without it being $800 or $700. They want to keep it that low entry price while still giving you a bigger bump from Steam Deck 1. And they'll need time for that to happen.
There's also other factors there that, there's a certain confidence when you're in that space. Like a lot of people go console instead of PC because they know I buy this, I don't think about it, it just works, and I can have it for
Yep.
3, 5, 7 years, whatever. So a handheld obviously has to upgrade faster, so it's not going to be 7 years. But when did the Steam Deck come out? 2022 or 2021?
2022, I think. It celebrated a year last year. Yeah, so I think it's surrounding 2 years now. Well, you know what? While we talk, let me double check, but I think it's
Okay,
2022.
so but if it's 2022, we're talking about a 3 to 4 year cycle, and that gives developers the confidence to say, I can profile my game to target that specific piece of hardware as opposed
February
to
25th, 2022. Continue.
Okay, right. So we're talking about 3 or 4 years, and I think that's very good if you're positioning this thing as a console, and that's how I view it. Now, I also think the other interesting thing is that 2025, 2026 is probably when we see that thin OS, which we will get to. And so you want to have a new hardware there to go against that, because that's when the real competition is going to start.
So this is a great comment that I happened to catch, and this is from Tony, and he says, K Asante, enjoying the show while traveling in Mexico. Much appreciate the entertaining banter as always. Thank you so much for checking us out, and enjoy your Mexican vacation, sir. That's awesome. That's really cool. I love the idea that people are enjoying us while they're going about their vacation lives. That's awesome. So yes, to come back to this topic real quick, I like this idea as well. I think there's options for everything.
Pissed if there was a ROG Ally 2 next year.
Oh,
right?
Bro, I will tell you.
And there will be. There will be.
Yes. This is what I was telling you about Asus, because right now, as much as you are enjoying your ROG Ally, what money have you paid Asus? What monetary value has been gained from you by them since you made your purchase? Nothing, right? You're buying games presumably on Steam, or you're playing Game Pass games. They get nothing from you, and that's why I was worried that because they get nothing from you, they would then take their eye off the ball and move on to the next one. I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong, that they're at least supporting the Ally pretty well so far.
I didn't hear that last part. Could you repeat it?
You don't have to, because this is a digital video. You can always rewind and take.
All right.
So
okay,
I've said that and I moved on.
Cool.
Real quick.
Okay. Yes. All right. Yes.
Right. So it's good that they've done that. But to your point, and what we are agreeing on here, you're going to see another one next year, and you're going to see another one the year after that. And because of that, the incremental upgrades will be so incremental that you won't feel like you're getting your value for it. And Steam Valve doesn't want that same thing. So they're going to wait until they're going to hit you with another $300 or $400 entry point. But then it'll be like, wow, look at the Steam Deck 1 versus 2 and how much it can do for those differences. It will take time. It's basically, you can't avoid that, right? If they were going to hit you with that today's price would be $800, and they don't want to do that entry level, right? They want to still be $300-400 entry level, so they got to wait. So no, I think that's super interesting. But okay, so let us move on to some of the Xbox, some of the topics proper. There's a lot to talk about, and we don't have too much time to get into it. So let's get right into it. Right, Mr. Everborn Saga. Yes, we've done. How many times will we do victory laps around here? Right? Oh, they're gonna do it. Oh, they did it. Oh, it's just a preliminary.
As many times as we need to.
Look, I know. Keep it concise. Give us the top level, and let's move forward, because I want you to wake me up when this is done finally, because that's not this. But continue.
All right, so we are all, I hope, up to date on this. There were always 3 major regulators that Microsoft had to convince in order to close this deal. Those were the ones listed in the merger agreement, and those 3 regulators were EU, UK, and the US. Back in April, everyone thought the deal was dead, because the biggest blocker of the deal, or the biggest hater on the deal that seemed to be taking what Sony was saying hook, line, and sinker, was the CMA and the avenues of appeal for the CMA, and the guidelines by which they can block a deal really seem very arbitrary. Meaning, you have this group of panel members. They just decide if they don't like your deal, that's
Then
it.
you're done. That's
And
it.
now you
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
go
yeah.
through a whole process.
Yep, yep.
So everybody thought the deal was done, as in walk away, she's dead, Jim. In April 26th, when the CMA came and said we're blocking the deal, even though Microsoft and everybody thought they had gotten rid of the PlayStation concern, which was the loudest and the most paperwork on it. But then the CMA turned around and said you didn't do anything for cloud, or enough for cloud, so we're going to block the deal. We all thought it was over, and never mind the fact Redfall launched after that. Everybody thought Xbox was dead. They're going to sell the business, blah,
like
blah, blah.
a zombie, it came back with tentacled beast and
right?
came all over again. Yes, sir.
Shout out to Margaret Vestager,
Mhm.
the true hero of this story. She is the head of the European Competition Authority or whatever. I don't know what it's called. No, it's just called the EU, right? So Europe approved the deal. They had no console concern, and that put Microsoft and Activision back in play. And so they took that information and they went to the FTC and said, yeah, we're going to close over the UK. And the FTC said, oh, no, you're not. We're going to try to get a preliminary injunction. And then Microsoft was like, gotcha, bitch. This is what we wanted you to do the whole time. And now we're going to bring you to court because your case was weak in the first place. And we're not going to wait till August and go present your case.
Now Everborn Saga has spoken the hidden,
that was my one.
The hidden word after checkmate on our thumbnail. Yes. That's the hidden word. Continue.
Yeah. So now they beat the FTC, and within hours, CMA got on the phone and was like, listen, what we could do here. I didn't know it was going to be like this. I thought I had backup. And I called my cousin. I called my big cousin. He just got out of jail. You punched him in the face. He's knocked out. He's holding his nose on the ground now. I didn't really want this smoke.
That's right.
So can we do something? And Microsoft says, yeah, all right, we could do something. All right. And then the UK says, well, listen, all right, we gonna do something, but we need to make this look smooth. I'm gonna give you everything you want. You can have whatever you want, but I gotta look like I'm in control.
But in public,
because
I gotta lay you out in public, even though I'm still giving you everything you want.
Right. So let's just walk out there and I'm gonna be like, yeah, don't you ever do this again. And then you're gonna be like, I won't do this again, but I'm gonna still leave with what I want. So they come out with the deal and they go to CAT together. That's the people that the CMA have to answer to. And they say, can we work together? We want to work together because we got a deal, right? And that deal involved getting rid of the cloud rights, right? But it was very important because this is how politics works, right? You have a goal. I have to spin this to make myself look good. So this needs to look like I'm in control here. Yep. So the CMA goes and they admit no fault. They admit nothing wrong. And Microsoft says, I'm going to get rid of these cloud rights, which don't really mean that much because they're still going to have it in the cloud and nobody else can really afford it in the cloud. And they wanted to put these games everywhere anyway. And in 15 years, when it all reverts back, that's probably when cloud will be taking off as the main thing. So one more console generation after this. Now, the CMA has, like we said, and they had to extend the deal. So we don't want to look like you forced us to into your date. You're going to close on our date. So they extended the deal from July 18th to October 18th, right? And now the CMA has come back. They've provisionally approved this deal. And they said that they just had to, and they even put some language in there that like, we still wasn't happy. We wanted to make sure, or we was going to block the deal again and go to a phase 2, but Microsoft did what we told them to do.
Real quick. I see some folks in the chat and no shade, good member of the community, talked to him before. Roshan Eppinger says Sony got a big win with this though. let's not pretend that. I don't get that. I would like more clarification on that, because I feel like Sony really didn't.
I'm gonna answer that in a second.
Okay,
as soon as
okay.
we
Please
get
continue.
through
Please
this.
continue. But this is not me
And
throwing
in the
shade.
chat,
This is me trying to understand.
No. This is me throwing shade. But I will do that in a second.
I'm not throwing shade. You can throw shade.
Yeah,
I just want to understand where he's coming from.
Please tell us what you think they got, and I will disabuse you of that notion. But anyway, so now, what's it called?
He says they got everything in the cloud they wanted to get. I wanted them to get nothing. So I mean,
okay, yeah, but here's the thing. Microsoft said they announced the deal on January 18th of 2022. On January 20th of 2022, Microsoft said Call of Duty is going to stay everywhere.
Yes,
they called Sony and said that, right? Yep. They said they wanted it to be in more places. They wanted to treat it like Minecraft.
Yeah, they've made overtures that COD is the sacrificial lamb from day one. So nothing's changed there. Yeah.
Sony is getting exactly what Microsoft wanted to give them, right? And they have their 10-year deal, but it didn't matter because they're going to treat it like Minecraft and put it everywhere. And Sony's going to get nothing on console. And Sony does not have a cloud service to speak of. We can talk about rumors of what they're going to do here and what they're going to do there, but all of their cloud so far relies on the console. And if the game is not on the console, these other exclusives,
except for the older games on the PlayStation Plus, those are the PS3s.
That's fantastic. That doesn't really affect this deal.
No.
So the point is, like, them having it in the cloud is not really going to make that much of a difference. In the native play, the PC play and the console play, like, Microsoft has what it wants, and by the time cloud takes off, all the rights revert back and they get to close the deal. And they will take the money that they make from people buying the game outright on PlayStation and use that to fund more first-party games. They don't have the marketing anymore, and that's what Sony was always concerned with, because they knew they were never going to lose COD. Right? So that's that. But anyway, back to this deal, I'll address that more further if Rashawn wants to.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
But anyway, so they announced that they've substantially addressed our concerns, and the only thing we had to work out was how do we ensure that they're going to do what they said they did. And Microsoft gave us a proposal for how they're going to do that, and we agree with it, but we're just leaving it out to the public until October 6th, and then we will make our final decision after that. But right now, we are happy, which means unless, because Sony can't say anything, they have a contract. Right? Nintendo can't say anything, they have a contract. Nvidia can't say anything, they have a contract. And anyone in the cloud can't say anything because Microsoft will not be in control of said deals. Now, the other thing that we noticed is Sony cannot go to Ubisoft to negotiate for cloud rights. Why? Because if you read the document, Sony is still bound by the 10-year agreement that they signed with Microsoft. Yeah. So any deal that was already signed is still in effect. So the EU order is for the EU region. Microsoft still has that rights, but they have to abide by that in the EU region. The other deals that were already signed, like Nvidia and all that, they're not negotiating with. Right. They don't have to negotiate with Ubisoft. Those deals. They already
have deals as well.
Right. So
it's all new players who have not already gotten a deal on this that would be beholden to the Ubisoft thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
which PlayStation is not a part of, because PlayStation already has a deal.
And I just want to point out that the UK said they didn't want these things to be overly complicated.
But then they made it overly complicated. Yes.
The most overly complicated thing. Like,
just like the UK said they were about just like the UK said they were about the consumers, and if you really pay attention, it kind of screwed UK consumers this whole thing.
Like, they didn't care. They
right?
absolutely
So
did
it
not
wasn't.
care about
It
the
really
consumer.
wasn't. What they said is not really what they really like purported it to be, because
Right.
the
And the
final look kind of
rights
screws the
are
consumer.
going to an EU based company, not even a
Yeah.
UK based company.
Yep. Exactly.
And all of the cost that Ubisoft incurs for doing this, because they have to pay Microsoft for these rights and then you pay them, right? Any extra cost, like the profit that Ubisoft makes on this, that's going to be passed on to the consumer. So it's going to be more expensive for you to access those games through other people. It doesn't make any sense, but the deal is it's to get the deal done.
It's to get it done.
And
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
and this is where we are. So don't listen to anything, and this is just general advice. Don't listen to what politicians say. Watch what they do. So we know what the outcome was. We know that the UK wanted to block the deal, and now they're not. And we know that Microsoft wanted to close the deal, and now they are.
That's it.
That is all that matters in all of those words that I just said. The word shaped air that just came out of my mouth.
You can hear all
the Microsoft is going to close the deal.
All the politicians will wring their hands and they'll talk about how they won and all this, but at the end of the day, Activision becomes part of Microsoft, which is exactly what they wanted in the first place. They can put their tail between their legs. They can do whatever they want. It's just a show to get exactly what they wanted in the first place. So
yes,
it's an interesting thought, right?
Yes. Oh, we're bending to your whim. We're going to extend the deal. Everybody's going to have a piece of the cloud. That's right. But at the end of the day, I'm leaving with it.
Exactly what we wanted in the first place. Yes. So
yeah, you do what you got to do. Explain that to your people. But I'm leaving with this.
So okay.
But last thing. So October 6th, and then the deal will officially close, and we can be done with all this rigmarole and nonsense. But I don't like expectations in terms of date. I think it's gonna run right till the end, like the 17th ish, because they have to get all the comments and they have to compile those comments, and it takes at least a week to compile those comments and put together.
Even though this is a rubber stamp, and you and I both know it, they cannot make it look like it's a rubber stamp. They're gonna leave it to the very last minute to go, yeah, we approve. To show
and I agree.
Everyone listened, all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted, and we did it the right way.
Yeah, I agree with AA Ron when he says the deal should have passed 8 months ago.
Oh,
absolutely. This was a waste of everyone's time and money. And then here's the thing. The last thing I want to say on this, and again, remember, this is all political theater so that the UK can preserve the image of authority, right? But they said the lesson to be learned here is that it's very costly and resource heavy and wasting of time that Microsoft didn't propose this deal earlier. And to that I say, if you had told them you were going to block the deal, they would have proposed this earlier. You got rid of the console theory of harm. You spent almost no time on cloud, and you told them cloud was fine. And then you surprised them when they blocked the deal. Had you said, UK, that we're what you're offering is not enough, Microsoft would have offered something that would have assuaged those fears. But you didn't say that because you thought the FTC would have your back, and so you just let the deal close, and you was big and tough when you had the Americans on your side. And so, but again, it's quick, political theater.
To add to that, the hypothesis that you're making there, and the fact that is a hypothesis, the truth that leans in that is, look at what happened when you did tell Microsoft, when you did provide instructions, right? We hadn't heard of Ubisoft. We hadn't heard of any of them. You gave them a list and said, these are your potential people. These are the potential companies you're going to foreclose on. And what happened? A week later, there were deals coming up half of them.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, but I'll take it a step further.
You gave them clear instructions, a clear path to get this thing approved. To your point, had you said that before, this would have been there in day one. Instead, you didn't do that.
But let me take it a step further, right? Even if you read this document, they said that they had concerns and they would have had to go into a phase 2, but Microsoft made an offer to them on September 21st based on those concerns, and so now they're happy to provisionally clear the deal.
What was it? What was the
So,
what was the terms that Microsoft made?
No, it was just saying that we want to make sure that there are things in place to make sure that you keep to what you say. Like what you say is good, but we need assurances that you will. And so what they added to it is that the UK can come in and arbitrate at any time if they need to on cloud, and they must support emulators as well. So that's in there. That's in the thing.
Interesting. So they must support emulators
but they said
other platforms?
Whoa. Let me be clear. They said emulators like Proton. That was the specific language.
But Proton's not an emulator. Okay, that's weird. Continue. All right. Continue.
Right. No, but what they're saying, because that ensures that it will work on Linux instead of them have to make a native version for the other thing. And again, they don't know what they're talking about, but whatever.
Yeah. So instead of emulators, it should be translation layers. But okay.
Yeah, but
that's fine.
But anyway, but the point is, they said these are our concerns, and they laid them out. And you know what Microsoft did? Those are your concerns? Cool. Let me address those concerns.
That's right.
You did not do that in April.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to block the deal.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why we are where we are. But again, you could piss in everybody else's jar and tell them it's Pete's tea, but you're not going to fool a fly or me. Right?
Indeed.
So again, and no, we know that Proton is not an emulator. I'm just telling you the language in. I'm telling you the language in the document.
Yes. But you know what? Let us continue down this
path. We are here because the CMA tried to get cute, and they realized that it would have been an embarrassment for the country, and it would have been not good for everybody. So this is where we are. But again, politics is politics, politricks, as my dad likes to say. At the end of the day, it's just about, at least for Microsoft, to get the deal over the line.
So I guess this blog.
Oh, by the way, did you notice that they had a state of play reference in there in the CMA's document? If you read it,
no. Where was the reference?
Actually, hilarious. I'll find the quote. Well, I can't actually right now because I'm transferring data from my old phone to my new phone, so I can spend $1,500 to play 720p 30.
720p 30, yeah. We heard that. Yes, indeed. I'm sure you'll have a real fun time on your touchscreen connected to the iPhone.
Oh yeah, by the way, since they moved to USB-C, my backbone no longer works. Pause.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The backbone is broken now. How are they gonna fix that? They're gonna
I'm calling pause on myself.
Actually,
that's AO on me.
You know what? The Android backbone would work because that is USB-C already anyway.
Yeah, but then I gotta buy another one.
Moving on. So let's move on because there's a lot of crazy stories that we're still missing, and I want to catch as many of them before we go, and we're trying to keep it concise in the hours. So let's talk about this guy real quick. So yes, there are leaks, and you heard the leaks, and we're gonna get into all the leaks proper. I have the PDF.
Is this bar chart talk? Because that's why I came.
Bar chart talk, sir.
I came for the bar chart talk.
This is bar chart talk. I brought this out because I know
Did he put this back up, or did you have to archive this? Because they bullied him and then taken down the bar chart.
I think he put it back up because it was always here like this. So here, well, it doesn't show this part in the full text, but let me see. Let me go back to, hold on here. Oh, darn it. Now I'm gonna lose the thread. Give me 1 second. So basically, so people know, Microsoft is leading in revenue. Well, leading in profit, I should say, not revenue, in profit.
Leading PlayStation, not Nintendo.
Leading PlayStation in profit.
Let's be very clear.
Let's call a spade a spade. It's leading in profit.
Can we read Pragmatic Eagles chat? Shout out to that guy.
Okay.
Super chat.
Man, Mr. Pragmatic Eagle with a $5 super chat saying, proud of you two gentlemen, the intelligent gentlemen, by the way. Thank you so much. You know, we like to put out the best energy we can into this universe, and we appreciate you are appreciating that. Thank you, sir. That is awesome. That is awesome to hear. This is what we do here. We want to put out the best stuff we can into the ether, and we hope that people that see it enjoy it and you know, holler back, and we have a great conversation. But yes, bar chart talk. Hit me with them bar charts, sir.
Bars.
So
Okay, so
yes.
this
Now
is
I
the
saw
one
this
that
floating
hurt
on the
everybody's
internet,
feeling.
and I know that you were very, very, very much like using this for your conversation,
Oh,
your talking points. How about you explain
yeah,
this, sir? Explain yourself real
this is
quick.
great. Okay, so what we're looking at here are the margins or the rate of return, if you
Mhm.
will, or operating profit, if you will, for each of the major console players, right?
Mhm.
So, what we see here is that Nintendo, by far, um, is the leader in this regard. They have the highest
In
margins,
gaming, that's right.
25% margins,
Mhm.
right? But what is super interesting is that we can see that although, and this is for a 9-month period,
Mhm.
although Microsoft in terms of revenue only made about 2/3 what Sony made,
Yes, sir.
they have nearly double the margins, right? So what we're talking about is 12% margins versus 7%
7%.
margins,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? And so whenever the conversation about how Xbox is failing and they're not making any money, and when all this stuff came up, I would always say, why do we say that Xbox is failing so much if they make more revenue than Nintendo, who you
Mhm.
said is at the top of the game? And the
Mhm.
first thing they told me and all of
Revenue
us
is not profit.
was revenue is not profit. You can't look
Uh,
at the revenue. You're just a dumb person on Twitter. You don't know nothing.
Looking at
Look at
revenue,
this
not
idiot
profit.
who's just they're clearly losing money, because why
Uh-huh.
wouldn't they be saying anything?
Yes, sir.
And it turns out
Oh boy.
that Hollywood studio Sony
Uh-huh. Is
was
doing
the
some
one
Hollywood
doing
accounting.
Hollywood accounting this whole time.
I
So
knew it.
so wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute. 7% margins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the first like 2 hours after this came out, everybody was silent because they had to get together in the stable and they had to come up with some good narratives to come and talk about this.
Oh
And
my goodness.
then they they came out and they gathered around one guy. They were like, please save us, Mr. Person who says that they're an accountant, right? Tell us what this means. And they said, well, if you actually look at the top,
If you squint at it.
it says that we've got net revenues, we've got operating income, and we've got accountability margin. And
Mhm.
those things are not the same because you can hide those things. And I say, well, okay, so you can hide things in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. Now, let's ignore the fact that for the last decade, we heard that Xbox was losing money and they were a failing business. And now we see they're actually making
Hold
a,
on,
a,
hold
a
on, hold on.
profit,
Just
however
a
they do
short
it.
moment. Just a short moment. I must address the chat. I might demote this man. I might like lose. He might lose his moderator status for this one. He's asking if Kay Asante. This is Mr. Joanna Dark asking if Kay Asante was at the stable.
I mean, you the one doing podcasts with anyway. But anyway, that's neither here. That's not. We got to stay focused. We got to stay focused. We're trying to be concise.
Now. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. You was the one calling Starfield No Man's Sky, but
Stop
we're not going to talk about that right now.
Ridiculousness, okay?
Yes, they said you're a stable genius.
There you go.
Okay,
Stable genius.
But anyway,
Go ahead.
so the point here is we have completely moved the goalpost of whether Xbox is profitable. Now we are talking about how profitable are they, right? Because they can't be more profitable than my precious. So even though they're saying accountability margins, which is only a matter of what Microsoft calls it internally, because when asked under oath, both Phil Spencer and Amy Hood, the CFO of all of Microsoft, said accountability margins are what we put in the profit column. It is the same as operating profit, right?
Yeah.
Now, what they also said is that the gross margins, right? Because you could, let's say you can hide things in accountability margins, which again, there's not a definition for it. It's just what Microsoft calls it. You can hide things, but then what about the gross margins? But gross margins don't include taxes.
Yeah.
And some other things, right? So you could hide things in that way. So my question is, if you think that Microsoft is hiding things in those numbers, why don't you think Sony's hiding things in those numbers? Couldn't anything you said that Microsoft could be hiding, it could not necessarily be true for any company? Yes, it could.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
And if we're talking about gross margins don't include taxes, who'd have higher taxes? The person making 12 billion or the person making 18 billion?
Yes, the one who's an American.
But that's not a
company or the one who's
conversation that
foreign
we are ready to have. And then they'll say, "Oh, but they bought Bungie, so you gotta think about the 3 billion." That's not how people account for acquisitions in their financial reporting. You can amortize that cost through a depreciation mechanism, which you would do over n number of years.
Yeah.
But guess what? Xbox or Microsoft just bought ZeniMax, which they would amortize that cost over n number of years.
Yeah,
so again,
So
again,
there he is.
no, I'm here.
Okay.
So again, all these things we can say, oh, but they could be hiding this, they could be hiding that. Do you know that they are hiding that? Because unless you have some documentation to say they are hiding this, you are literally making this up only because you cannot handle the bar chart in front of your face that tells you that there's more in the profit column for Xbox, who you said was failing. So if Microsoft should spin off Xbox, right, because they're a failing business and they don't make any money and they're poorly managed, and they should go to BlackRock because their margins are terrible, if at all. If we're going by that logic, and we see right here that the margins on that business within Microsoft are higher than the PlayStation business within Sony.
Yep.
By your own logic that you told me for the last 10 years, Sony should spin off PlayStation because it's a failing business.
There you go. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So you can come to me with the actually all you want. You're making it up. You are making up what you see in your face. Now, unless you're going to say that they lied to the SEC and they lied to the regulators and they lied in the courthouse under oath.
Under oath,
I'm going to believe you, person on Twitter who has been wrong about literally everything. Now, let me tell you. So again, now, and we've shifted now that profit margins don't matter because you could hide stuff. So you have to look at the overall number, even though that's not what they told me before. So I would like to compile a list of all the things that used to matter, but no longer matter. Resolution used to matter, right? Doesn't matter anymore, right? Power used to matter, doesn't matter anymore. TV used to matter, doesn't matter anymore, right? Bethesda games used to matter, don't matter anymore, right? Organic growth used to matter, doesn't matter anymore. First party releases in a year used to matter, don't matter anymore, right? We can subscription services, again, used to matter, don't matter anymore. Service games or the lack thereof used to matter, doesn't matter anymore. We can do this all day like Captain America, right? But this shows you, and this is all my fault, and this is everybody's fault in the chat. Don't argue with fools, because you are screaming at a brick wall. And whatever you start talking about, they're going to change the subject on you in real time. This is what we saw.
I feel like
and the way they were
having
clinging,
a great conversation with himself right now, because you're
chat
schooling yourself. You need to school, because you're the one having these arguments with these people.
The chat is with me, right?
You're the one having these arguments with these people, sir. So maybe you should talk to yourself about having these arguments with these fools that you're talking about.
I am just a voice for the frustrated people. That's all I am. I'm just giving out the free shoes. So again, all I'm asking is to keep it consistent. But apparently that's too much of a tall order. So I will pause there. And if anybody has any bar chart talk, I'm ready.
So okay.
Oh yeah. Oh good. Yes. Player count on Steam. That used to matter. They said, where's Starfield on the Steam charts is not beating Baldur's Gate. You know what Starfield is beating on Steam? Every PlayStation game combined. But we're not gonna talk about that because
that's a different goalpost. Yes, that's a different goalpost. Yes. Mr. Pixelbit G with a $2 super chat saying, I told you this over a year ago, Everborn. He's asking, why is it that you're too late to this damn party?
I get it. I know. This is all on me. But I got that off my chest. I feel a little bit better.
Months after declaring that the Tomb Raider game would not be affected by layoffs, now Tomb Raider devs have been hit with layoffs. We already kind of spoke about it broadly. Any further thoughts to the fact that Embracer Group is on their knees?
I know the CMA needs to hurry up and improve this deal so Microsoft can come in and swoop in and scoop up Crystal Dynamics, IDOS, and whoever made the Remnant 2. And by the way, Gearbox, no, I don't think it's a good fit for Microsoft. I think they have too much in that column already. I think Gearbox would be better off at Take-Two.
Yeah, I actually I don't mind that. That's not a bad idea because they've been publishing those games anyway. Why not just buy them? Yeah, I don't think there's a problem. Absolutely, yeah. So this is just a quick pause on this path. We've already discussed it. You know, Crystal Dynamic is facing layoffs due to Embracer Group's financial issues.
Wait. Sorry.
No.
The Lazy Otaku says Xbox should buy Japanese studios. Yeah. Now, I just want to point this out. I do not think that this is, and I know this is a part of the leak conversation, but I think there's bigger things to discuss with that. So I want to say something that I said to you. So you may think, crazy Xbox fan just wants Microsoft to buy everything, blah, blah, blah. That's the only reason they don't care about consolidation. We know you don't care about consolidation either, but I do want to say this. Everybody lost their collective you-know-whats when they heard Phil Spencer mulling over the idea of Nintendo, even though he was telling the board members that wouldn't be a good idea, and even though anyone in the position to get Nintendo would love to have that business because they make great content and a lot of money off of selling you cardboard. But anyway, people said, why didn't this come up with the CMA and the FTC? Right? You know why it didn't come up with the CMA and the FTC? Because if you spend a year and a half telling people that Nintendo does not compete with Xbox and Sony PlayStation, then you can't then say, look, they wanted to buy Nintendo. So by the FTC and the CMA's own market definition, there's no competition concern if Microsoft bought Nintendo. Yeah. That's how flawed their market definition was.
Yeah, which, let's be honest,
they don't compete at all. It's completely separate markets. So no problem. Microsoft, go ahead, buy Nintendo. Based on what the FTC was saying.
Well, but
this just shows you how stupid
that
this whole
was
thing
only in the
is.
FTC, right? All the others did.
No. Wait a minute.
The CMA and the EU
weren't that also. The CMA did agree with the high performance console market. They just didn't think it was enough for Microsoft to penetrate it. So they did go along with that. So again, since Microsoft does not compete in the Switch market to kids, they could totally buy Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely. They could totally
again, I am not advocating this. I think that would be a terrible thing, but I'm saying this just shows you we are not the crazy ones.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But go ahead.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I sidetracked this. You were talking about Embracer Group.
I feel you. No. We were in Embracer Group, but we moved on. We were going to talk about some of the leaked documents because that's the final topic. But Mr. Joanna Dark reminding us that Crystal D, Gunfire Games, Eidos, they'd bring back Darksiders, Legacy of Kain, and Deus Ex, all within.
Do we know that they would bring those back? Because we don't even got a banjo. And you talk about they gonna bring back all these games. Let's slow your roll a little bit there, sir.
there's always that. Yes, there's always that. The fact that they have not done what they said they would do. Well, they didn't even say it. What we want them to do with those old IPs. But whenever you hear these leaked documents, which we're going in that direction, you do hear they're working on stuff like that in the background. So with that in mind, leaked documents, based on an IGN article, leaked documents point out that the Series S is more popular than you think. Now,
I heard that changed, and it was.
Yes, I was going to say
that. 75%. Okay, you explain it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was going to.
I need to rest my voice for a second.
This was a small time period in time, right, where that happened, and I think it was April in 2022. No, not 2022. Was it 2022? Either 2020 or 2022. I'm forgetting the date, but it literally coincides with the middle of COVID. Yeah, 2022. There you go. 2022. It coincides with it's the middle of COVID. And of course, the argument that can be made about that time period where Series S really outshined everything else was the fact that at that time, yes, there was a chip shortage. Also, for every one Series X that can be made, two Series S's can be made. They were also trying to get the same SoCs into the data centers. So a lot more strain and stress on their pipeline than just people buying it, right? So that could have all been additive to the reason why this was lopsided as it was. And since that time, there's been more reporting done, and it's seemingly more closer than we think. It's more neck and neck. It's closer to 50-50 than people think, right? Because now the Series X's inventory has risen, so now people have been buying it. And of course, Starfield and all that stuff has contributed to that. But let's talk about this leak for a minute here. Let's talk about this. As you know, Microsoft, it came out overnight. Well, it was actually the end of the night, beginning into the next morning, 5 a.m. News started coming out. A lot of leaked documents. What happened? There was an attachment. There was a PDF with attachments that was put on a public server in the court case FTC versus Microsoft. Initially, the thought was that it was the FTC that made the mistake. Long story short, it was Microsoft that uploaded their PDF to the public side instead of the private side. So it was their own screw up. It is what it is. And now we have a lot of data.
Well, actually.
Okay, please. Well, actually, me.
Okay, so this is not the FTC's fault. We'll say that. I did make a joke about that hurt a lot of people's feelings, but it was a joke.
What'd you say?
No. I just said not one Sony document leaked.
Oh, that pissed people off? Come on.
A lot of people got pissed off.
A lot of people got mad. Okay. Yeah. So you were actually me.
Listen, and the Venn diagram of people who got pissed off by the bar chart, and that Sony joke is a perfect circle.
I get you.
Perfect circle.
What you're saying is anyway, those are the fleas you were talking. Those are the dogs you were lying with. I understand. Continue.
So, but anyway. So here was the deal. This server where they were uploaded to was public during the trial, and then it was no longer public, right? And then it became public again 2 days ago, right? So the document, the PDF that was uploaded, was ready for public consumption. It had the redactions in it, but you can add attachments to a PDF.
Sure,
so even though the document itself was redacted, there are little addendums pointing to this figure and that figure and this attachment and that attachment. And so this redacted document that pointed to those things, you could actually get to the documents themselves. Right?
Now this is the PDF. I don't have its attachments, but this is the main PDF itself.
Right. So this PDF had attachments within it that you could download. Now, what happened is Microsoft did not upload this document. Microsoft sent this document that included all the redactions to the court. The court did not look at the document. They just said, you sent us this, we're going to upload it to the public site. So a lot of people are saying Microsoft mistakenly uploaded it. They did not upload it to a public place. They sent it to the court, and the court uploaded it.
So technically, it is the court's
And
fault.
well, I mean,
So
the
it was
court,
up to
I
Microsoft
think, should have
to
done the due
vet
diligence to say.
It was up to Microsoft to vet the documents they were sending and where it would go to, but it was the court that ultimately pulled the trigger.
That uploaded it, yeah. So the court uploaded it because Microsoft sent it to them, but Microsoft did have to send them all this stuff. So the question is, should the court have looked and said this document is redacted, so take it out of the file, or should Microsoft have sent those documents in a separate file? I don't know. I think wires got crossed, but Microsoft did not upload it to a public place. They uploaded it to the court.
So,
and they either mistakenly left the attachment there, or they were under the assumption that the court would remove everything that was marked for redaction.
Yep.
So it
got out there.
What it got out there.
Let's briefly touch on the stuff that we don't have here, and that's the games that have been announced and the new Doom game coming out.
Nothing from XDS, all from
Bethesda. We're talking about.
I guess because we all know the Xbox roadmap, so
right. New Dishonored, new Doom, remake of Morrowind. Lots of remake.
All of that is super uninteresting to me. The games will come out; they'll be great. I got enough games to play right now. What we want to talk about is that hardware.
Is this roadmap document, because as we do on this show, we love taking victory laps, and oh boy, do we deserve to take a victory lap for this, because this show shouldn't be called Checkmate. This show should be called We Were Right. That's what this show should be called. We was right. Come on.
They thought I was wrong, but I knew it all along.
We was so damn right. Like, come on. We were so right. Amazing how right we were. We've been talking about how we see them coming with a hybrid console. We see them coming with a different flavor of OS, just to capture the zeitgeist that we're in with all these handheld consoles and how people are all excited about them. But
hey, they're saying your mic is very low.
Ooh, my mic is super low.
I've heard, I've seen 2 or 3 people say that.
Testing 1 2. I hope it's getting better now. I'll turn the mic up a bit more. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me 1 2? I hope it's better.
I hear you the same, but hopefully they.
Yeah, I did turn it up a bit more. So let me do that. I'll adjust our mics a bit to make mine a little louder. But anyway, so it looks like we were absolutely right here, right? It looks like not only are they working on the next gen console, they're also working on the next gen hybrid console, just like we thought, right? And man, you tell me, sir, you saw this. This came to your timeline. What were your initial thoughts when you woke up and you saw all this treasure trove of information?
All I have to say is thin OS.
Oh boy, go ahead.
Now, what they're really doing, and this slide that you have right here, there's also a handheld there.
Yep, right there.
And you can see the vision of running across everywhere. And again, I do think this ties into the whole iPhone being able to publish AAA games too, even if they're at 720p 30, because that technology sort of proliferates down to cheaper devices as the years go by. So, can you imagine what an iPhone?
Quick pause. Because I know Pixelbit G has asked this question before, and when you asked it, good sir, I looked around and I found out what it means. What does XDL mean? It means Xbox Design Lab, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that means. So when you see XDL next to any of these other things, it means it will give you the option to then go and design your own. So that's what XDL means.
All right. Please continue, also, I want you to pay attention to what this says, right? Because if you'll notice, PC, mobile, smart TVs, low-end, mid-range PCs, streaming sticks, high-end PCs, Cloud Blade, all of those things are not products that Microsoft would sell you.
Yeah, those are all products that exist.
The ones that are filled in are the products that Microsoft will sell you, the hardware they will sell you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can see this even by looking at the column below, which has the mobile controller. They're selling you the mobile controller, so it's visible,
Yep.
but the phone is not what they'll sell you, so that is grayed out, right? So this tells me that they're 1000% considering a handheld.
A handheld, yes. All the ones that are not going to be within their purview that they're going to leverage their vendors on or leverage their partners on, those are the ones in just black and white color. The ones that they have filled in, the ones that are actually devices that you see, are the ones they're going to put their hands on, meaning a one-handed Xbox controller for some odd reason. Meaning
that's not an odd
device.
reason, that's an accessibility thing.
It's, well, either accessibility or mobile games. We'll see.
I think it's accessibility.
Okay. If it's accessibility, then it would make sense, right? And obviously there's already core devices that exist. The premium one would be new, right? That doesn't exist yet. And the elite we already see. They already work on gaming controllers. They already work on mice, consoles. So the handheld there and the cloud device being filled in with color, that tells you that they're definitely working on it.
Don't think that's the final design on those
controllers. No, those are just reference designs. Absolutely. And oh, by the way, real quick, before we continue, shout out to the great content creator in his own light, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere here, asking a question. Hey, did we hear and see Jason Ronald's new promotion? And that is interesting because if you go to Mr. Ronald's new Twitter, if you go to his X handle, if you will, he is now the VP of Xbox Gaming and Devices and Ecosystem, not just Xbox. He is VP of Xbox Gaming Devices and Ecosystem. Nice catch there, Fuzzy Belvedere. Well done.
Now, and so this is the thing, and I think they're gonna sell you this cloud device. And all of this that I see, it just makes me wonder, right?
And this is the Xbox that you know of today, right here.
Right.
And this is the Xbox that they want to bring you tomorrow.
How does be very serious here? Yeah. How does Sony keep up with this?
That's the question. And even beyond the hardware talk, right? They within the treasure trove of leaks we heard 8 first-party games in one calendar year. How do you compete with that?
Well, if we don't think that's possible, let's just go through this year, right? We've had Hi-Fi Rush, followed by the release of Ghostwire on Xbox, followed by Minecraft Legends, followed by the game we don't like to talk about, Redfall, followed by Starfield, and then followed by Motorsport, right? So we've got 6 games in one year, and that's before ABK. So, by the way, if we're counting ABK, since it will come home this year, that gives you Diablo and COD.
And COD, yes.
That's 8.
So they have hit 8. Yes, they have hit 8 this year. If you count COD and if you count ABK in the mix as well. Man, yes. So hashtag again, cadence. There you go.
And the larger they expand their ecosystem, especially if they're moving off console, it makes more sense for developers to jump into said ecosystem, which makes, and another thing that was pointed out in this leak, in the email, Phil Spencer said every major third-party game that is not funded directly by Sony is on the platform or coming to the platform. Everyone, right? People were very surprised when Street Fighter came there.
Yep.
Right? Some people didn't think Tekken was going to come to the Xbox, right? All the games that they've missed, they're going back and picking them up. Picking them up. The Personas of the world, the Guilty Gear Strives of the world, all those things they're going back to go and get. Everybody was like, "Oh, Octopath Traveler 1 was on Xbox. Why didn't we get 2?" Now it's coming to Game Pass, right?
That's right.
Phil is like the North. He never forgets.
He remembers.
and we can see that somebody said, didn't Street Fighter flop on Xbox? I don't know if that's true or not. I just think this is like a super competitive year. But anyway, my point is, a lot of people are talking about the growth of what this chart is kind of hard to understand. Are they saying, okay, so they're saying they'll be at 100 million, and there is some console growth projected here.
This is why I want to talk about this chart, because this chart is super important. I've kept talking to people a long time now. They talk about, oh, they're losing the thread. They're leaving their console partners behind. No, they're not. This chart tells you for a long time, here's where you are, here's where you're going, and they foresee consoles being part of the thread for a long time and project growth in it, right? So this should tell you, console player, you are not a second-class citizen. It is not their plan to leave you behind. Look at what they're showing you.
This, and again, this chart, it seems like this is something for Game Pass and not necessarily. Okay, this is just Game Pass subscribers, so that has nothing to do with how many people. So they believe, right? And if we're looking at this chart, this kind of says that they're above 32 million, right?
Yes,
above 30 million.
They're above 30
because
million
it would
right
be
now.
The dark green would be right, because look at this. This says fiscal 23, right?
Yes, all
that
of them.
Actually has them pegged above 40 million.
Well, hold on here.
Look where the 40 is.
Yeah, you're right. Right now in fiscal 23, they are above 40 million. So they're kind of tongue in cheek, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, telling you Game Pass is above 40 million right now.
And by the way, we're actually in fiscal 24. So technically, if you're looking at this chart,
this is the past. They're closing in on there.
Kind of at 45.
Yep. And as you can see,
and again, I want to be clear. Bar charts, pie charts, Venn diagrams, they don't hurt my feelings.
It's a beautiful thing.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying they have 40 billion. I'm saying this chart shows that
but see, let's see if I can zoom in really close to talk to what you're talking about. See, here's the 40 billion. You can't see my pointer, but as you can see, it's above it. That's where they're starting their numbers. And they're already in FS and FY23 above.
Scroll down and show them the fiscal 23.
Right, there it is on the screen.
We know that ended in July, right? So we're now in fiscal
FS 23, right? And there it is. The notch is slightly above the 40
and by
billion,
the way,
right?
And no one has reported this.
No one's really said anything about it.
One person has said they could potentially be at 40 plus million right now.
Yes, because that's what they're kind of saying right there with that number right there, right?
It literally and like you're
says.
It literally, wait, again, when did this chart come out? Because if it came out because some of this info is from 2021, so maybe that's their projected growth, and they projected this in 2021, so maybe they're not there. I do want to add
we don't know that. Yeah, we don't know that. This could be an old document that led to projections.
Or maybe this does now. I'm hearing that doesn't account for core, but maybe the reason it's at 45 million right now because they're including the people that pay them.
We're not sure. That's right.
Or eventually pay them for core. So this is
look, this is what they're saying. This is console gamers and Xbox Game Pass for console and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That's literally what they're counting for.
Is this we have to ask this question? Is this a projection that was made in 2021? Is it a projection or is it based on actual data right now?
Yeah, that we won't know. That we don't know. 100%.
Well, I mean, it's all a projection because they're going out to 2030. But I'm saying, when was this created?
Did they start with factual data and then project out from there?
Right.
I get that. Yeah.
Right.
I get you. But no, we will leave you guys to read this in more detail. But there are some really interesting highlights here that I want to talk about and some ramifications that this means.
You talk, but when you're done, before we go, I want to talk about my vision for the Thin OS. But you go off for a little bit.
Well, Let me. Yes, of course. Let me tell you why I think this is exciting. The 2 points, 2 key areas here that I think are exciting. Right. And Everborn, please jump in and correct me or disabuse me of my notions whenever you feel the need to.
Wait a minute. Just 1 second before we move
Okay.
forward. Beast Mode says for the Y-axis, X23 cannot be a projection point. It can if that slide is something they were showing from
way back when,
prior to this. So what if this chart was created in 2021 and they thought that that's what they would have in 2023? But again, if we're starting at this point, that should say that they're starting now. So I just
listen to Fuzzy Belvedere with his tinfoil kufi up in here. He says he thinks they're at 90 million as we speak, 60 with Xbox Live and 30 with the Game Pass. If you combine them, they're at 90 million. Holy. Well, all right. Yeah.
But hold on, 60 million in Xbox Live, not all of those are gold. Because you just have to make an account, so they could be
sure. Yeah, the silver accounts also muddied the waters, that's for sure. So okay, these leaks have brought out a few very key talking points that I want to have a conversation about with our community, right? One being the mid-gen refresh talk. How will that work? What does that look like? Oh, they have a spherical Xbox. They no longer have an Xbox. They have an X Tube. Right? And second talking point, Series S doesn't change anything, right? I am so happy that this is where we are. I was one of the ones, and you've heard me say it multiple times, I don't want them to change their development platform. I want them to educate people on their development platform, because if you do educate people successfully on your development platform, you can see this exact same hardware hit higher heights than people think it's possible of today, right? Will you be successfully able to do that? That is the question, right? But changing the hardware platform will get you back on behind the 8 ball of getting people to invest in your hardware, which they're not already anyway, right? So starting from scratch again, mid-gen would have been the worst decision. And I'm super happy that they didn't do that, right? I'm really happy that they didn't do that, right? So what did they do? They added some quality of life features, which I think are like I'm so excited. I think I said this on Boom Show. I'll say it here as well. What people don't understand is quietly, secretly, Microsoft is leaving lots of money on the table in the third-party accessories game, right? Nintendo owns the third-party accessories game, right? PlayStation is getting there in the third-party accessories game. In my house alone, I have like 30 Xbox-like controllers, and maybe 10% of them play on actual Xbox. Why? Because they're all Bluetooth compatible, and they're on everything else except for Xbox, which didn't have Bluetooth. They are fixing that. That is a big deal. Most people don't see that because we're in our bubbles or whatever. But in the normal world where Bluetooth controls a lot of things, that was a big mistake, them not adding Bluetooth in the first place. And this is an awesome correction. This will change a lot of things. You will see a lot of crazy accessories happen.
I'll be right back.
This.
Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. Secondly, they are keeping the same hardware, as you know, right? They're keeping exactly the same hardware, but they're removing the Xbox. They're removing the disc, right? Now, we heard while I was on the show with on Xbox Infinite with Salty's Gamer, he was like, well, Xbox should have done this instead of releasing the Series S, right? They should have just done a diskless version and call it a day, and that's where you get your cost effectiveness. That's where you get your cost savings. I say that is wrong. You don't get your cost savings from just this. This happens after some revisions. This happens after you've had a chance for it to sell in the market for a while, right? After you've had a chance to revise the hardware. You won't get these prices and you won't get these initiatives until the hardware's been out for a while. You've seen it happen over and over and over again. We're talking the Xbox, we're talking about the slim version of the hardware, right? That's when they usually start making their profit on the hardware, because the same hardware exists. They've revised it while still hitting the same power level. So usually the first, no worries, sir. Usually the first batch is the best batch or a problematic batch, depending on how it happened. And then any revision after that, you'll see the metals start turning into plastic. You saw it happen with PlayStation first, right? Where the copper heat sinks started shrinking, and then they started using less quality products. That's why they were able to turn a profit earlier. This ensures that Microsoft turns a profit, well, maybe turns a profit on the Series X, right? And I say maybe because they are not changing any of their hardware profile. And that hardware profile is still super expensive. Right now, there's still the CPU that costs more than the whole Series S. And this doesn't change any of that, right? So I am super happy that they are, even though it's a mountain to climb, don't get me wrong, it is a mountain to climb. I'm happy that they're opting for, instead of, well, we hedged our bets and we were wrong, we're now just gonna go full bore into overhead, right? Rather than optimize development. We're just gonna go into, giving our overhead just like the Series X. And instead, they're putting all their energy into educating and informing and maybe adding more meat on the bones to having Microsoft go to developers and help them traverse the divide that sometimes the Series S and X can present. All right. Now, Mr. Everborn Saga, you are back. What are your thoughts? Yeah. I don't know if you heard my hypotheses. What are your thoughts on that? People were hoping that this mid-gen refresh would then lead to a mid-gen refresh. Blow away the Series S. It was a mistake. Throw it away. Make the Series X more powerful or whatever. I am happy that they put quality of life features in and kept the hardware profile the same. Do you disagree, sir?
I just want to say I like the cylinder design.
So do I. It reminds me of the Apple MacBook Pro, the Mac Pro,
the OG Alexas,
or the OG Alexa. Absolutely, yeah.
But so I mean, there's a few things. A lot of people are talking about, and I don't know if you saw that, even Digital Foundry talked about this, right?
Yeah.
They just did a video and
they're all throwing it. That's what they're doing.
No. They were very candid.
Okay.
Richard Ledbetter, Alex Battaglia,
yes.
all these guys.
Now what I mean by the FUD was the idea that, digital media is going away. Exactly like one of our members here in the chat posted out before. This has been a thing for a long time now.
Most of the people complaining about that ain't bought a disc in 5 years.
That's in 5 years, thing. Exactly.
And then when you buy a disc, all you're getting is a digital code. You lost that fight already.
And exactly. Right? And PlayStation,
I have not bought a physical game since 2013. I do not care.
PlayStation did this at the beginning of PS5 gen, which was same console, one without a disc. No one complained about that. They said that was the good move. Microsoft finally follows suit, and it's the end of physical media? That's FUD. I'm sorry. That's why I call it FUD.
All right. Yeah, but it's a lot of people subscribe to Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Hulu talking about, it's the end of physical media.
But this is my point.
Face with that. Do you own a Blu-ray player before you're talking about the death of physical media?
We all know.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Anybody complaining about that right now? Tell me if you own a Blu-ray player. Do you own a CD player? How about an 8-track?
Hey, I own a Blu-ray player, sir. I own a Blu-ray player because that is the only way I watch The Matrix.
Most of these people complaining do not use physical media in any other place.
Yes.
And they're just saying it. If you want them to sell you a box with a code and a statue, they'll happily sell you that. But you're not using these discs. Stop lying to yourself. You just want a reason to be mad because the internet is where you go to release your frustration.
What I'm saying to you is the FUD that I'm describing is exactly what you're saying here. Even your physical discs, with the exception of a Nintendo, who even they have done a little bit of that while making you download extra even though the cart's in your hand. Your physical discs just have hex codes that then authorize you to then get a download from the internet, right? Physical media has been dead for a long time. Like the idea that, we still have that disc in our hand. Look at Gotham Knights as an example. Single player game, you can't play that game single player unless you connect to the internet. good luck with your physical disc, right? Physical discs are dead. And the reason why I say this is FUD from Digital Foundry, and I love Digital Foundry, but I say this is FUD because a lot, and specifically to Digital Foundry, IGN will do it, all these others will do it, but they aren't as technically minded as Digital Foundry is. And Digital Foundry knows what is going on here, right? So to make it seem like this is the death of physical media, that is just FUD.
But
physical media died a long time ago.
I don't want to throw Digital Foundry on the bus in this regard, because I just listened to an episode of them where they talked about it very practically and candidly, and it was like, we'd have no idea if they're not going to offer.
All I'm saying is, back in the day when PlayStation offered only the digital versus the physical, they said, well, why didn't Microsoft do that? Right? The Series S and the memory issues and the when they finally do something like that, what do you say? You don't say, wow, they finally did that. They said, oh no, death of physical media, even though they are not the biggest pool, and the biggest pool has already done it. And when the biggest pool did it, you said nothing. There's my FUD. That's my issue. But I'm sorry, let's continue.
Yeah, the point is, we have no idea whether they're going to say, hey, this is compatible with external Blu-ray players. They don't even have to make one.
Yes.
Right? They could just say it's compatible with one that you would buy for your PC, because it's Microsoft and it's running on a Windows kernel. I would not, this is not a thing to worry about. I also think we're giving it too much energy, because you're going to do anything and there are going to be some group of people that are going to cry. But now the interesting thing about this to me is how Xbox evolves, and how because I really believe this is theoretically, in theory, there will always be new hardware.
Yes, there will.
I know we'll use the generation parlance, but I think generations died once we went to x86.
I agree.
Right? There's just min specs now, right? But your games and your libraries are going to follow you like PC. So on that note, at what point, what year is it to say where Series S parity becomes not canceled but optional? Because I think that consoles, and this is not just Microsoft, I think it's going to happen with Sony as well. I think they are going to move to, again, people are going to get in their feelings because I'm going to say mobile again, but a mobile model where it's not so your library is going to carry forward, and then when the new box comes out, you get the new box, and then developers will say, well, my game can absolutely run on a Series S, so I'm going to target that. But in 2030, a developer will not have to support the Series S if they don't want to, but they can say, I will support the Series X, because the Series X can handle what I want to do in 2030.
Here's my thing. While I agree with you, and I do see that there will come a time where they'll have to institute something like that. The one thing I will say about it, though, is the idea that Microsoft specifically has to be extra careful, and like you said, everyone will do it. Even Sony will do it at some point. But I honestly think that Microsoft specifically will have to be extra careful about that, because the reason they instituted that parity in the first place was it was kind of like, and this is a hypothesis on my part, but I don't see any other reason other than this. It was to force developers to contend with that optimized development path that they had set out. Because had you not mandated that, right? Because the Series X is a hedge. It has both the optimized path and it also has overhead, right? If you give the developers the option, they will always choose the path of least resistance, which would be the overhead, right? Because since you've already chosen to develop for the biggest pool, which is PS5, right? Porting to Xbox, overhead is the best way to go about it, right? It has the overhead, it has the hardware. Look at the 8 gig RAM, the RAM limitation, right? Overhead is the problem, right? The minute you have overhead, the Series X can handle it because it has extra overhead. It can deal with it, no big deal, right? In the Series S situation, you literally have to develop with it in mind because it's got literally no overhead whatsoever, right? So if they were to untie those, they're concerned that the developer will just opt for the overhead and then leave the other one in the dust.
Again, again, I just want to just
Hmm.
back up and clarify what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I am not talking about today.
No, no,
I
no.
am
And yes, and
talking
I agree
about,
with you. I'm
right,
agreeing with you.
what,
Like no, no, but
how
you
many
you have to let me
years.
thread it. You have to let me thread that. I'm
I didn't
agreeing
get to
with
finish
you.
my original point, but go ahead.
Sure, sure, sure. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that it will be up to them when that time comes for the transition. It'll be up to them to have done the work that was needed to convince those developers that developing in that smarter way is the way. Because if they haven't, the minute they separate them, the Series S will fall like a stone. But please continue.
Well, so here's the point that I was getting
Mhm.
at. If the parity clause for today makes sense for all the reasons you said,
Yeah.
what I am getting at is that 3, 4, 5 years from now, after the Series S has had a 5, 6, 7 year run,
Mhm.
right? Do they say, that's it? If you want to develop something that we're already in the next generation, right? We're in 2028, 2029. A developer comes around, he wants to make a game. He knows the game can run on the Series X because this is further along. There's going to be more demanding resources, and next gen is going to have a lot more overhead. So the question is, does Microsoft say you cannot support, again, this is 2029, 2030. You can't support the series. If you support the Series X, if you want that audience, you also have to go for the Series S. What I'm getting at is you do a thing where somebody buys your console and then you know it's going to get at least 5, 6, 7 years of support, and then support will become optional. But at that point, it's a question of economics. So I'm sure developers don't want to do the extra work to port to the Switch, but they do it because they want some of that sweet market
Exactly,
share.
because
Once
they've convinced them that that is the pool, right? Whether it's good, those invincible ports gets done anyway because obviously that's the only game in town, right?
Right. So again, once you have established yourself with quality content, which we know is
Mhm.
coming and will happen at a steady clip, and you increase your market share, developers will ignore the Series S at their own peril. Now, I say all that to say you said this and that about Digital Foundry, but on their latest episode where they were talking about these leaks, they pointed out the power difference between PlayStation, because raw numbers, the Xbox is more powerful, but we've not been seeing that bore out. And that is because the same reason you see games come out that are not well optimized for PC, the developer makes the decision. They have a larger audience in Sony platform, so they put a lot of their effort there. And the other stuff is nice to have. The updates either don't come, they either come later, or they don't come because they have a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And the Xbox uses most of the DirectX stuff that you would use for PlayStation, but they're not going in and using the tools available to them. This is what Digital Foundry said. The same thing you've been saying, the same thing everybody else is saying.
Okay,
So we're giving Digital Foundry the smoke. You got to give them their flowers
I
as
will
well.
stand corrected because I haven't heard them, because that's what I want to hear them say. Whenever anybody comes and talks about the well, then it's good that I heard them say that. I haven't heard that. It's good that you've heard them say that, because my fight has been the Series S.
I put it in the group DM.
Great. I will check it out. I will definitely check it out, because my fight with them has been that we know why the Series S isn't performing as well as it is from a technical perspective, right? Others can give whatever estimations they want. They can say whatever they want. You, Digital Foundry, know more. So when you say, oh, they need to leave it behind, all the memory issues, without being clear on the context, that's doing a disservice to your audience, right? So that's why I have always taken that position. But if you're saying that in the latest episode they had that kind of conversation, then again, I stand corrected 100%. I look forward to watching that then. Absolutely.
And so the other piece of that is what I'm saying is, going forward, it won't be a matter of we're in the new generation. Obviously, they'll do that for marketing purposes, and like Pixel said, to have like cutoff points. But when we get into the next generation of Xbox, I think, as opposed to saying this is this generation, this is last generation, from a development perspective, they're just going to say, okay, the parity clause for Series S is now optional. If your game can run on it, great, we want it there. If it's not, then you can support the hardware that your game runs on, and then the Series X will eventually bounce off of support, right? And then the next generation will come out, and the next mid-gen refresh or whatever, and so we'll just move
what is the
forward.
cadence?
I think you have to give people at least 5 years.
Okay, so
and
every
that
5
even
years,
that is
hardware drops.
no. Well, every 5 years you say
the last version drops off.
Right, the weakest one doesn't have to be the last one, right?
Sure, the weakest one drops.
And maybe that number is 6 years. I don't know what that number is, but there'll come a point where you don't think about you. I just think we're going to that PC model. If the mobile model makes people feel any better, right? You got new cards, and then you have a new min spec. So the min spec at some point could be the Series X. But again, people are if there's more Series S's out there, people are not going to want to miss that, so they're going to do the work they need to do to get their games over there. But that's really what I'm saying. The concept of generations and leaving things behind and a cutoff point, I think that's going away, and we're going more towards a min spec model where we're going to keep releasing hardware.
I don't disagree on that.
And then the oldest stuff is going to roll off of the support cycle or recommended specs.
No, and I don't disagree. And of course, when you roll off the recommended support, then they got something else for you, which is cloud gaming. That thing is connected to, and you can still kind of use it, even though that's not really there.
Can we talk about that controller, like the direct-to-cloud controller in Stadia Tech?
All I have to say about this controller, and we can move on because I don't want the show to last too much longer. All I have to say about this controller is when I saw this direct-to-cloud controller, my first thought was, and they have finally, with this step, eaten the monolith that was all of the talking points and all of the asks and all of the promises that was Stadia. Everything Stadia promised, Microsoft has quietly given you. The only thing they hadn't given you was the direct-to-cloud controller that would lower latency. That was the only thing left. With this, the mission is complete. They have eaten Stadia whole. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this. I'm like, oh, I see what you guys have done there. Good job, guys. Even though, let's be honest, this controller won't look like this when it comes out. It won't be two-tone. I've even seen other renditions of it where it's there's plastic and rubber, but it's all black, right? There is an idea that it'll look kind of like this, but it won't be two-tone, I don't think.
It's wearing pants. It's wearing pants.
It's wearing pants, that's right. So what do you think of this controller?
No, I think again, it's a way to solve the latency problem, or at least get better at it. So
it's not even the latency problem. It's exactly what Stadia said, right? You have the controller in your hand, you're playing on your console, you move to another device, because it's direct to cloud, it can easily transition to the other device and keep the thing connected.
There's still helps with latency, right?
Because
there is some
100%,
perceived latency
yes.
Of sending the signal back to the device, and then it coming back for the input.
But it won't only be this device that will It won't only be this device that'll kill your latency. It'll be this device combined with the next gen cloud offering that they're doing. That will get you to that NVIDIA GeForce Now level. That's where they're trying to go.
Right.
Let's be real. GeForce Now is that level right now. But they roll straight in PC. So
let me ask you a question, because somewhere on here it says they want to go PC games in the cloud or whatever.
Yeah. Which is easy to do.
Yeah, because
which is literally GeForce Now's business model right now
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll save that question for another time. I'm just thinking of what's the best route to go about that and whatever else. But anyway,
that I won't go too far into it, but they already have that groundwork laid. They could have done that easier than what they ended up doing, which was putting consoles in the cloud. Azure itself is an open area that you could have basically recreated GeForce Now's business model in Azure. You can do that today. They just chose to go the putting consoles in the cloud method. If they decide tomorrow we're turning on playing your PC games in the cloud, it's a simple matter of depending on which game you choose, you press the button. This time you're on an Azure server rather than you're on an Xbox server. But to you, it will be transparent. They can totally make it work.
Yeah, I just wonder if Game Pass, if cloud should be based on PC instead of console blades.
Oh yeah, no, I 100% agree on that. Right, cloud should be based on PC because it makes the hardware far more.
Because all of your games are PC day and date, so you could have them there.
Yeah, yeah.
Think about it.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. The reason why they did what they did with Xbox in the cloud is because it was a novel solution to an interesting problem, right? It was just interesting. It was a novel because otherwise, then they'd have to take away from their data center in order to get this cloud thing going. So instead, they took away from Azure itself, right? In hindsight, I may have criticism of that decision rather than even the choice
that feels
of storage
more
they used.
Expensive to do than putting
Yes.
the Series X's in the cloud.
And
just
although
putting the Series X's in the server blades feels like
although in hindsight, had they done what we're describing, it would have been even more of a slow walk with this whole FTC stuff and this whole regulator
100%.
stuff. Right?
100%.
So it is what it is.
So now I want to just talk about the Thin OS for a minute.
Yes. Let's talk about
this is super. The other thing about this controller is they're going to have an app where you can see what devices are paired with it, and you can move between. I'm super interested in that.
Yeah, me too.
They're going to add haptics. So all of that stuff I think is great. There's going to be an accelerometer in there. You just pick it up, it turns on. I think that's great, and that's really going to be your platform is the controller, because we'll get to a point where you're just going to get a controller and a subscription and you're good to go. Yep. And that's their post 2030 dream. But like I said, the infrastructure of the world has to catch up, and I think it'll take the world about 15 years, and Microsoft knows that, and that's why they agreed to all this. But anyway, Thin OS.
Yep. This is the hybrid computing platform. This is us taking our victory lap because we were right. Go ahead, speak on it.
Okay.
Last topic.
So
let's go.
This is and you can like this, you don't like this in the chat, or whoever listens to this later. I don't care. This is what I'm thinking about, right? I think that the next, and I've been saying this long before this leak came out. See the Thin OS at the bottom?
Yes, this is why we're taking a victory lap. This is us saying we have been advocating for this for months and months. We have been convinced. We've talked about it. We brought the Fox on. He talked about it. This is us being right. Continue.
All right. So the idea, if you have a Steam Deck, you know that you're sort of dual booting a Steam OS and a regular traditional Linux desktop. And when you're in Steam, that's it. It feels like just like you're playing on any console. But you can manually go and boot into the desktop for when you want to do stuff. And we had been proposing a similar situation for Windows, which is we called it an Xbox OS, right? And so this Xbox OS would effectively be something that doesn't have all the cruft of Windows, but it's able to run Windows game executables, right? And hopefully, like the Steam Deck, you could add stuff from other stores, but forget about that for now. This OS would just have Microsoft's new game store, and it would effectively be something that they could license to their partners. So anyone building or manufacturing a gaming PC is building or manufacturing another Xbox.
Yep.
Right? And Microsoft would still have their reference model, but I think the next Xbox shouldn't necessarily be tied to a box. It should be that OS. And the Asuses and the Lenovos and the Alienwares of the world would be selling hardware with that OS, and everyone would have the same experience. So whether it's on a handheld, whether it's on a big beefy gaming PC, or whether it is the Xbox that Microsoft sells you, which is really just a PC running this Xbox OS, or Thin OS as it's called in this slide, that would be the thing. So every game, you wouldn't have to worry about people not wanting to optimize for your platform. Why? Because they're already making, every third-party game comes to PC. So you literally get every game.
So where I disagree with you, where I will step away from you is this, while I agree with you in theory and all that you're saying, this operating system and this initiative would stand separately from Windows that would also have Windows games. This would be
Yes.
the OS for Xbox, but there would still also be gaming PCs and Windows, right? And if
No,
you
no,
were,
I get that. I get
Yes.
that. But what I'm saying is, as a person with a gaming PC,
Mhm.
I would install this OS, and then I could boot out of it and boot into proper Windows, right? If I want to go have the full fat Windows experience. But when I'm booted into this, this thing is, there's
kind of like
nothing running.
It's kind of like single user mode back in Windows 10 days. Like
Yeah, but then you
would-
were still
yeah.
in Windows. I'm talking about booting in another OS, right?
Yeah, different
If anyone
UI,
has a
the
Mac,
whole thing. Yeah.
right? Anybody has a Mac right now, you know, they use whatever that tool is to go and run
Yes,
Windows
I
or
know.
whatever.
Yes.
Right,
Oh,
but
you mean-
anyway,
yeah.
so-
I see what you're talking about. Parallels or whatever. Yes.
yeah, something like that. So it would be that kind of thing. You are booting into this OS,
Mhm.
and this is literally the Xbox OS that they license. And if
Mhm.
I have a gaming PC and I don't want to deal with all the nonsense of Windows,
Mhm.
I can just boot into this OS and have a full console experience. But it would be to whatever PC hardware I could afford to build, right? And everyone's having that experience. Everyone has an Xbox, and
Mhm.
this would be the same OS that you would boot up when you played a game in the cloud, right? When you
Mhm,
opened up the Xbox app, it would just be a virtualized version of this OS.
Right.
So what I'm saying is,
and
evolve
folks
past.
folks are asking.
box.
Folks are taking. They're taking. Some of the technical folks in the chat are taking offense, or not offense, but they're taking your use of the word dual boot as the problem. This would not be a dual boot, right? Because dual boot means you have two separate operating systems that you choose from. This would be a hybrid device, a hybrid operating system that has a UI or another UI, much like how Valve's right now, the Helios OS has the Steam console UI and the desktop UI. Same device, same OS, but you can disassociate them. One will just load the mainline UI and no cruft in the background. But if you want to go desktop style, you can do that. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about two separate operating systems that you choose from. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about one hybrid OS that can be modularized, right? Much like Linux is modularized now, right? Very modular, right? Some of them are just solely command line. If you want the UI, you initiate the command and then you get the UI as well. Almost like Big Picture. Exactly. I see you in there,
But Big
Floodzilla.
Picture, I just
No.
Big
But
Picture is
be
still
clear.
an-
Be
is
clear. It's
still
not
an app.
when we say big picture, we don't mean a skin on top of the background OS. No, we mean just like, because what Steam does, their big picture, right? In Windows, their big picture is the skin on top of the OS. But when you're in Helios OS, their big picture is the modularized OS, which is disassociated from the desktop. Right? So you can do both. Exactly what Steam is doing today. If you're in Windows 11, you press the button, you're in big picture mode, which is a skin. So Windows people can still use it. It's fine. But this hybrid device would then load up that UI as default and leave Windows out of it. You want Windows proper, you can actually initiate Windows and it'll bring you to Windows, but you don't have to have that. So you never have to explain that to the casuals.
Be clear, when you're in the Xbox mode,
Mm-hmm.
this Xbox mode should not be running any of the Windows nonsense.
Yeah,
Nothing.
it'll just be straight window, straight UI. No print spoolers, there'll be no desktop to see. That, all you see is your front end, your games, that's all you get. Just like Steam OS now, right? There is no desktop when you're looking at your stuff, unless you actually initiate and ask it to go to desktop, and then it'll turn off the UI you currently have and turn on the desktop.
And I also want to be
see, and I love having technical people in the room. Floodzilla, exactly right, sir. I deal with that all day. Yes, we're talking about a hypervised like sandbox within the OS.
right,
absolutely.
and that Hyper-V is also how your games would carry forward, right? So
Yeah.
this would be a PC, but it'll be able to run your
Yeah.
existing Xbox library that's only on console
And this is not
through the
unique.
hypervisor.
This is exactly how Microsoft works today. That's why 360 games work on Xbox. That's why OG Xbox games work on Xbox. They have literally hypervised the entire OS structure. So every time you load up an old compatible game, you're loading up an old VM that thinks it's an Xbox, and in that, the game plays. This would just be loading up a UI for the actual OS. It could work. It could work, I think. You know?
So, but I believe that that's what Xbox should evolve to. It should evolve, and I know it's a lot of work involved to do something like this, but I think it should evolve not into an app but an OS. That's ultimately what I was trying to say.
Both can exist, right?
Every
Just
gaming PC could effectively be, if the user wanted it to be, an Xbox.
But just like Valve, just like Steam exists today in that two forms, they could do the same thing. Both can exist. If you happen to be a normal Windows x86 user and you have this, you're running it, you can press the Xbox button and boom, you're in big picture mode, just like they have on Steam. Or you can have this handheld device that then only runs that in that hybrid fashion as well. Both can exist, right? Both can exist. I think the fact that we've been talking about this for months and now leaked documents show that literally it's there. They are also talking about it. They're also thinking about it. They're also making plans to execute. It makes me super happy because, man, like these days I find myself on these devices more than I do on my 4090, just by the very nature that, you ain't got enough time in the day. This you can take with you.
One other thing we should discuss is they are considering moving away from x86 over to ARM.
To ARM, yeah. I saw that as well. They've been
Would
playing
that
in
be
that
a wise
for a
decision?
while.
And what are the implications of?
I mean, I don't think it's a wise decision. They'll do the best they can with what they do. And remember, they're talking about a console platform, not Windows, right? So they can keep it. What do you call it? PowerPC was a separate platform than x86. They're very successful in it in the Xbox 360 days, even though they went from x86 on the OG Xbox. So in the console space where it's a walled garden, they can make it work, right? They can definitely make it work. But you can't make it work on the Windows side. They've tried a million times. There are 10x OSs out there that nobody's using. There are really cool devices out there that I could not recommend to anybody to use because they're on ARM, And why is that? Because the translation layer just isn't there yet. Like Proton's translation layer, the Proton being a great translation layer that seems to be magic for Valve. The translation layer of x86 of what Microsoft is using to do the translation from existing, software, because that's a thing with Microsoft, right? Anytime they talk about anything in this respect, you must always remember they have history, right? So in the console space, they have to account for backward compatibility. In the PC space, they have to account for backward compatibility, right? So as long as their translation layer is smooth and magic like Valve's, we have a future here. So far, it has not proven to be so. And to be fair, Valve's translation layer, and that's not really theirs, it's open source, Proton is open source, was crap for years until it wasn't. Like many years. Proton has been around for years, languishing, not doing much, right? And then all of a sudden, it became something, and now they're doing something with it. So maybe they've been down that path. They've been doing it for a long time as well, the x86, the ARM versions of Windows. Maybe they're close to doing that translation layer and they're close to cracking the nut, and then we'll see the smooth transition. But as of now,
one other thing,
based on their historical evidence, I think it's a bad idea because it's not very good.
Well, big picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we are today again seeing that we can have native games running on mobile devices. Yes, it's a $1,500 device, blah, blah, blah. But today's $1,500 iPhone is tomorrow's $100 Android phone, right?
Everborn Saga, I know what you're talking about. Talk to me when they put AC Origins on there.
Okay, let me thread this needle, please, sir. So my point is, if they view their future as mobile, if it is at least possible in some respects take a AAA game and publish it and port it over to ARM-based devices, right?
I still think that's snake oil, but continue. Yes, go ahead.
It probably is today, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if these are their stated goals, and their big main box was based on ARM and things would be developed on that, wouldn't it be easier to port those games over to devices that ran ARM architecture?
Yeah, but then that means you'd have to change your development platform to account to be mainly ARM, right? That's why I'm saying it might be a bigger uplift for Microsoft, because in the world where you are in a vacuum where you're just developing for this closed platform, which is your console, great. You can shift anyone anywhere you want, right? But we don't live in that world. We live in a third party world where there are a lot of PC games that Microsoft wants to come to their ecosystem, right? They want to entice developers to bring those games there. If you create an ARM platform and don't create a seamless off ramp that requires zero work, i.e., a translation layer for the developer, you're going to isolate yourself even more than you have now, right? They're building for Windows. You're successful. Your platform. If you now all of a sudden move to ARM without moving Windows to ARM, which is an impossible uplift, and they know that because they've been trying, right? You better make sure your translation layer makes it zero work for developers. Because if you don't, they're not going to do it, right? They'll do it for Valve because that's the only game in town. They'll do it for PlayStation because that's the only game in town. But for you, Microsoft, you're not in the position that those others are in. So you're going to have to do the legwork to make sure that your translation layer is spotless. It's beautiful. All they do is they build their Windows PC games, and then you can put it on ARM, you can put it wherever you want, and it'll work perfectly. If you're able to do that, oh yeah, you'll succeed in that inevitably. I think so. Right? But the key is to take the heavy lifting off of the devs.
Sure. And their tools will be the thing that does that, but we know what happened with the tools at the beginning of this generation.
Right?
So we'll
see.
But
look what we're talking about here, right? We're talking already about how they don't leverage the tools on Xbox because the biggest pool is on PlayStation, right? You're asking them to forego the biggest pool to use yours because when you use yours, it'll make developing for that bigger pool also more difficult. Whichever one you choose first, the second one becomes more difficult. Not impossible, but more difficult because it requires more time, more resources, right? What they're doing here is if they went to ARM, it would be even worse. It'd be telling them, no, like we're not the biggest pool, but now you should even develop even more in a unique way for us, right? They're not Nintendo.
Okay, but why are we thinking that by 2028 they won't be the biggest pool after Activision and after ZeniMax and
that is a thought experiment. That is the thought, and that's why I keep talking about people when they talk about the Series S about, oh, it's bad, it was a mistake. I'm like, by the end of this generation, right? If we are still having this conversation about it,
but you have to make that decision now, though. You can't just say we'll see at the end of the generation.
No,
so maybe this is a conversation for the generation. What I mean by that, I don't know.
Yeah, what I mean by that is their actions and their steps to convince consumers and developers will be the telling of the tape when it's all said and done, because that's the key ingredients that's either going to make or break this. The hardware is there, the tools are there, it's all ready to go. It's about you convincing them that it's useful to use. And at the end of it, and this is what I was talking about with Risk It, at the end of it, if they're not able to convince developers that it was a useful tool and they don't use it, it doesn't make it less useful. It doesn't make it a mistake. It doesn't make, just because you weren't able to convince people to use it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Perception isn't reality. Fact is fact, right? It's just, what will Microsoft do to convince the Larians of tomorrow that they should prioritize their hardware instead of somebody else's? That's the telling of the tape.
Something, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't remember exactly what they're saying, but they said that they wonder if Microsoft is doing themselves a disservice by being so close in terms of hardware to the PlayStation, right? They're effectively using very similar chips. They're
Mm-hmm.
using similar architectures and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And they're
Mm-hmm.
doing that in a world where developers are prioritizing,
Yep.
what Sony's doing.
Yep.
So maybe they should just do the
Be
Switch route
very
and
different and force
right. And
you
that's
to
gonna
either,
force
if
people
you're going to
to
develop
use their
for
tools.
us,
Yeah.
develop for us. You're not going to do this phone at home stuff that we let you do because our hardware is so similar. I get that. That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point, because there is a thought about that to be made. Pixel, what do you think? I know you think about these as well. Let us know what you think about that. That is a super interesting idea, being that because they're so similar, you can now phone home. You can phone it home because you could go further, but they're both x86. We'll do what we can to get it working and then we'll keep it moving. Whereas if they were so different, you couldn't get it running unless you really develop for it. Then you'd have no choice but to do right by it properly, or you wouldn't be able to get it running at all. It's an interesting thought. It'd be pushing developers. I don't know if that's a style that Microsoft would do it.
It's a big D move.
It's big D energy. That is something that Sony would definitely do. It's something that Nintendo does, right? I don't know if Microsoft would do it. What do you think? I don't know. I don't think that they would do that. I think that may be a bit too much for them. They're very much approachable. We just want to make it easy for you. And because of that, they sometimes get, they get short shrift, but it's an interesting concept. I think that's cool. But okay. I think this buttons up our episode for today. What do you think, Mr. Everborn Saga? We're around 3:15. I think this is a good place to leave it.
I am spent. I'm good. I'm all right.
He is spent. And sir, I will say this, and we have fun, but I appreciate you for being here today, sir. I know it's difficult. I know that under normal circumstances we would have canceled, but salute to you for making it work.
2 weeks in a row, and so much
here.
happened, and I'm excited to have these conversations with you in the chat and all of that.
Absolutely.
And shout out for all the input from always Pixel, but Pragmatic Eagle, Enigmatic
Dreams. That's right.
And Sycamore showing up live, which he never does. He always listens later, but shout out to everybody.
Yes. Floodzilla, I hear you. I see you in there, man. Putting good information out there. Tide Talks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, sir. So many great community members in here, always pulling up, always showing support, making the show better. We see 170 people still watching and 138 likes. Please hit the like button on your way out. Let me close this poll before we get out of here. And the poll asked, Starfield, spoiler cast on stream, meaning live. Do you want us to do it? And let's see. 58% of the public said before the end of the year. 19% of the public said never. And 23% of the public said recorded only show, please. And out of that was 219 people that voted. Thank you all for your votes. I think we'll most likely do it before the end of the year. We'll do an out of band episode, and we'll most likely, I don't know. What do you think, everyone? Maybe make it subscribers only or something like that. Something that will not be part of the main feed.
This is too big. We got to just give an episode to the people.
You think so? But what if
I do think we need to set up
somebody?
memberships and all of that. That's fine, because we're gonna say it in the thumbnail and then you call it.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Okay.
So the only feelings that are gonna get hurt are the people who can't read. We don't care about that.
Well, yeah. All right. So we'll sort it out in the background. But yes, it's been a great show, Mr. Everborn Saga. I know you're not 100%. You're a little under the weather. Where can people keep up with all your ongoings this week, sir?
I'll be on the X streets. That's it. You know where to find me. Everborn Saga everywhere. I can't talk.
Okay. For me, I appreciate all the fine folks that have been here, all the people that continue to pull up, continue to be to really make this show what it's becoming, and a lot more people are joining us. Once again, we appreciate Microsoft for via Keymailer for sponsoring us. I said I was going to put it in dribs and drabs into the thing, but instead, what I've opted to do is I'm just gonna drop the whole situation right now. So, if you happen to be in the chat, bam, there you are. I hope you enjoy the code. It is 3 months of Game Pass. And we're gonna continue talking about Game Pass on this channel, of course, because we love it, and they sponsored us this week, this time around. So thank you guys so much for the sponsorships, and we appreciate that. But I guess that's it for us on this show. It's been a great show. I'm sure there's a lot more to be talked about, a lot more to be watched. There are lots more on the YouTube streets for you guys to check out. So go ahead and check those out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of great shows. PTK Blam is going to put on a good show tonight. I'm sure Living Split Screen is still going hot and heavy. Go check them out. Let them know we sent you. But until next week, we
Don't
hope
forget
you
about
guys...
Gaz and
Oh
Game
yeah,
On
of
Daily.
course. Obviously, Gaz will be doing their thing. Xbox Era is going to be doing their thing tonight as well.
Shout out to Hargeet Neat in the chat.
Yes, we see Hargeet in the chat. Salute to you, good sir. We always love chatting with you. We should have him back on the show soon. It's been a minute since he's been on the show. But yes, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. Mr. Everborn Saga, I hope you feel better soon. Keep it gaming, and until next week.
Better too.
Peace.
Nice to be in orbit.